I tell people like, any other job, you would just get up and you would go do it. You wouldn't have to feel like, this lightning bolt of inspiration. I worked at a pizza joint when I was in high school, and I never felt particularly inspired, to go bust the tables, right? But that's what I was getting paid to do, and I showed up when I was on the schedule and I did it. So,
It's time for Gavin Doodle.
Well, hello, everybody. It's a Thursday night, and that's all right. Let me get my feet up there. There we go. Gavin Doodle with me, Mark Hoffman, i.e., also known as Studio Hoffman. You got YouTube there, Instagram there. You're watching it probably on one of those two things. Give us a like, give us a follow. You can ask us anything. Today we have on special guest Gordon C. James, who is a fine artist and commercial illustrator, known for a variety of books. Probably the I was gonna say the crowning something, and I realized that was that would become a pun, and I don't want that. So the book that first introduced us to him in our household was Crown, an Ode to the Fresh Cut, which was written by Derek Barnes. They've done a second one as well, but again, Gordon C. James does amazing paintings in his fine art, but you can see that it crosses over into this sort of illustrative work. And you can see his skill with the brush, essentially, skill with paint that shows up. And so this book got rave reviews, won, I believe, the Coretta Scott King Award. I'm trying to remember all the different awards that it won. But then he's also worked on other books, like Just Like Jesse Owens, which is amazing tale of Jesse Owens, of course. I guess that's simplified version. And then the newest one that Cortez Harris wrote, which is Go Tell It, How James Baldwin Became a Writer, and tells the story of James Baldwin, the author and poet, I believe, if I remember correctly. But again, real skilled painter in Gordon. And so I'm excited to have him on. I know this is going to be interesting too, because he's such a skilled fine artist, and then here I am doing silly little things. This is my thing I'm making tonight, Stick, Stack, Stuck. The story of beavers whose dam fell apart or fell in on them. And so that's the piece I'm going to be making tonight. Let me switch it to me. There's our piece from last week, or a couple weeks ago. There we are. Hello, everybody. So I'm going to let our special guest in, and we will get started. And let me just put in the Ask Us Anything in the comments, and we will get going for the night. So if you want to comment anything, throw it in the comments, and or ask questions, throw it in the comments for us. I'm just going to pin that so it's there, and then I'm going to let... I don't know if this hat's going to be too warm tonight. We'll find out. Hello, Teacher Maren. So I did accept. Let me see. Maybe I need to invite. I'll try that instead. One of these will work, and we'll get Gordon in. So Gordon, if you're watching, I have sent an invite. I know you also asked to be invited, and for some reason it did not take. So let me try this again. Unable to join. Okay, yeah, here we go. I'm sending it again. That should do it. There we go.
hey, sorry about that.
No worries. For some reason, I don't think this is a you thing. Instagram, when I send an invite, it doesn't accept it. It won't let the person accept it the first time, so I have to send it a second time. But so,
Okay.
I don't think it's any fault of anyone's here. It's a technical issue. But welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me.
I am undoubtedly a huge fan of yours. I've loved your books since I first found them, and I know my wife is upstairs watching too, and she's a huge fan.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
and you are one of those folks that when I reference to my students all the time that like illustrators don't just have to live in the world of illustration, and it can cross this boundary into painting, and can, that the idea that illustration has to be silly and like cartoony. You are like one of those reference points where I'm like, okay, you need to go look at Gordon's work. You need to go study like all the background and history that comes with your fine art and how it crosses over. And there's not really this like barrier between. And so I'm excited to have you on. And I must admit, I'm wondering a lot what you're going to do tonight. But so thank you in general to start off.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. So I am yeah, I'm a fine artist and illustrator. I consider myself probably a painter first, and I'm a painter who happens to do children's books.
Yeah. Who tells
Yeah,
stories? Yeah.
exactly.
It's
And
funny.
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, please.
I was gonna say, and I'm gonna work on like a bit of a portrait tonight because I never get a chance to. I've been very busy with the illustration stuff, so I seldom get a chance just to paint an image that I've been wanting to paint. So
Cool.
I'm going to do that today.
Is it a portrait of someone specific?
Yeah, I work in a studio. I work here in Concord, North Carolina, at Clearwater Art Center and Studios, and so the portrait is of one of the artists who used to have a studio here. Her name is Sonia Falon.
Oh, lovely. She still like in the area, or is she? No.
Oh, she spends time between here and Mexico, so she
Oh,
is
okay.
yeah, yeah.
Cool. No, I'm excited. This is like I said, it's one of those things where like a lot of people come on and they go on Procreate, or they deal with like they don't sit back and have an easel in front of them all that often. And so this is going to be exciting to sort of see what comes of it. But um, I do have lots of questions for you tonight, and one of the well, I'll ask this question later, but um, the the idea of the crossover between sort of illustration and your fine art, and you say like you think of yourself as a fine artist first, which totally makes
Mhm.
sense. Painter, I should put it that way, a painter first, and then some of it finds sort of a commercial outlet. Um, I'm wondering, sort of right off the bat, before we get too deep into things, um, that idea of how you label yourself, because like website and things of the sort, do you go out there and say like I'm a illustrator, or do you go out there and say I'm an artist,
I
or do
think
you
it
go
more
out there and say
depends on where I am.
okay,
I've been telling people I'm more of an illustrator now because that's most of what I've been doing.
yeah,
But I do have, it's not even in this room; it's in the room across the hall. But I have some big canvases lined up. I have some long-term art goals that don't have anything to do with books.
yeah,
So I think I just got very lucky in that I did Crown and it just took off, and it allowed me to do this full time. So I tell people all the time, like I'm like a painter, and I just have the best day job.
yeah. Makes total sense. Are you oil paint, or are
Yeah,
you?
yeah,
Yeah,
mostly oil paint. What you see behind me is that's chalk pastel.
yeah, that's the Owens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
The reason I ask is just one of those, oil can always be tricky for an illustrator if you have deadlines. If you're, like, if you're going to
it
scan.
really doesn't take that long to dry, to be
Yeah,
honest with you. And if I'm photographing it, it doesn't matter if it's wet or dry.
true, true.
Yeah,
I always scan everything. So I always think about the scan bed and getting it all uh, colored and stuck
yeah,
down
understood.
over time. Um, so tonight we're gonna chat. We're gonna make. I know I want to be respectful of time. I know that. Wait, you're in. You said North Carolina, South Carolina.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
you're East Coast as well. So it's
yeah.
late enough there already. So if at any point you need to go, just holler. I'm more than happy to send you off in style, and we'll switch back to sort of face cameras. But and then if the internet is any sort of issue, which sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, we'll sort of play
Hmm.
that by ear. But I say we just jump into our downshoots and we start making and see what comes of
Okay.
it. Um,
Okay.
I say
So,
downshoot, but yours is more of a side shoot.
yeah, yeah.
That's,
So, let's see. So, let's turn this around. So, there's my reference, and I actually have it up on a large TV, and I keep bears from YouTube on there so that it doesn't go to sleep. And
I never factored that in, honestly, until you just said
yeah,
that. I'm like,
yeah.
oh, okay.
This way, it's a little bit, it's a little more. What I don't know how to say. It's. I don't have to, spend the thousands of dollars on the high res Apple monitor, which I do want. I'm not
Yeah,
going to tell you I don't, but
it's
but
it's a
yeah,
what I like to call a poor man's version of the idea of
hmm,
like you don't want to spend the money, but it still gets the job done.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so I just want to make sure from my visual where your hands are coming in, just make sure it looks like it's all vertical, so it shouldn't be an issue.
yeah, yeah. I should
Okay,
be all right. I should be all
okay.
right. I'm
So
switching tripods here,
yeah, so
and
I want to start by chatting a little bit about sort of your history because obviously you are a painter, sort of at the forefront of your sort of presentation to the world, but you get this book crown that sort of, like you said, took off.
yeah,
And I mean, it took off. Like that book was everywhere and was praised by everybody, rightfully so. But I'm assuming that was a bit of a shock or a bit of a change
yeah.
from a
I was really surprised. It wasn't anything that I was expecting. I had done a few books before then. I did the Scraps of Time series with Patricia McKissack, and
yeah.
I did a book called Campy with David A. Adler about the life of Roy Campanella.
Okay.
And sorry, I'm getting this set up here. I'm actually scooting my puppy out of the way, who's right next to me. Um, yeah, and then things kind of slowed down, right?
Yeah.
And one day Derek called me, and we had worked together at Hallmark. I worked at Hallmark Cars as an illustrator. We had
Mm-hmm.
worked together at Hallmark, and he just called to see, what I was up to. And I was teaching school, and my wife, who has always had these great day jobs, which allowed me to be out here dreaming, um, she had just gotten laid off from from her corporate gig, and so I was like, well, let me pick up something, and it had been a while since someone had called me for a book, so I said, well, I said, this book doesn't necessarily pay a ton, but uh, if I can just do a really good job with this book, this will be. I thought of it like getting paid to put a new portfolio together.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. That makes
so I just said, well, I'm going to knock this book out the park. And that way I'll just have something nice to show people. And hopefully after this book, I'll always be able to get a children's book when I need it. And but I had no idea it was going to do everything that it did. And we believe it to be the most decorated children's book of all time. In terms of like just the sheer number, the volume of awards.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can you name all the awards?
Ah, it has Newbery and Caldecott honors.
Yep.
It has Coretta Scott King honors for author and illustrator. It has an Ezra Jack Keats award for the writing and an Ezra Jack Keats honor for the illustration. It won the Kirkus Prize. Um, let's see. Oh, I got a Society of Illustrator gold medal. I'm pretty
Yep.
proud of that. Yeah,
It's
those
your
are the things that I can think of, like just offhand.
Is there any room
offhand.
on the cover that isn't covered up by a sticker at this point?
They made choices. They're not all on there. They're not
Yeah,
all on there, and there's a partial list of the awards on the back. Like it was just the right book
at the
at the
right
right
time.
time. Yeah. Yep.
Well, it also like it spoke to a different, like the industry itself had this. I mean, still does has a diversity visibility issue that comes into play, and
Yeah.
it was one of those books that I think like spoke to an audience that was underrepresented, especially in the reader side of things, not just the art side of things, but the reader side of things, and spoke to it was not meant to be cute and fluffy and like a fable of sorts. It like had a different language to it, and then your artwork on top of it, like put this. I always think of it as almost like it's a book for adults that essentially they can read to their kids.
I was trying to when I did the book, I wanted the artwork to feel like the kids were going, to the National Gallery or to the MoMA or to the Met.
Yeah, yeah,
I was thinking, I grew up in the DC area, and my father would take me to the museums, my mom would take me to the museums, but not everybody has parents that have the time, energy, or they live in a place where they can go to
yeah,
all these museums. So I was thinking that this book might well be the first place where kids can, where some kids may not get to those places. So I was thinking, well, I'm going to give them this view of this traditional oil painting, um, in this book form. So my goal when I sit down is to give people like really excellent, um, I don't know how to say it, really excellent representational oil paintings, 17 to 24 paintings at a time in children's book form.
yeah. No, that makes it like I was reading your website again to get refreshed on sort of like, oh, where'd you go to school or any of those kind of like tidbits that I could find, and you mentioned Sargent, and you mentioned all these artists that are not typical um, reference points for a lot of kid lit. Like obviously they are for a lot of artists, but it's not like people go, oh, you know what? I'm gonna make my book look like a Sargent book, or if Sargent had his chance at a book. And so like that idea of trying to, I like this sentiment of being the first inkling or the first sort of touch a kid has to that world of fine art, and it's a great crossover with that with the subject matter, with the sort of relatability, and there's a freshness to the painting, so it doesn't feel historic. It's not like you're doing a historical like master copy of any sort, but it's got inklings that tell us like, oh, this comes from a rich tradition of sorts.
Yeah, I love those paintings. As a matter of fact, last weekend I was in New York and I went to the Christie's. Well, not last weekend, it's a couple weekends ago. I was in New York and I went to the Christie's preview, and
Yeah,
they had a sergeant that was there for sale, and I it was just something to just be that close to one of the more sketchier sergeants because you always see
yeah, the
you always
finish.
see the
Yeah,
finished portraits, but you don't necessarily get to see those sketches. And it was just something to be in the room with it, and it's so cool. And it's also neat to be in a room where people are like in awe of something, and you're sitting there going, I could do that. You know what I mean? Like it's like this is doable. Like it's not with enough time, enough energy, enough practice, these things are not, beyond it's not unreasonable to think that you could acquire those skills. But with that being said, I do not want to be in the business of making brand new old paintings because those paintings are already there. So I try to
yeah,
use colors that really, really pop, um, paint contemporary subject matter, mix genres,
yeah,
which I love to do. because it doesn't always have to be. That is a decent little start. It doesn't have to always be, like we're out here copying paintings and making a brand new painting, a brand new version of a painting that has already been there.
Yeah. No, the you mentioned that idea of like I can do that. You mentioned there's part of me that immediately goes like, not everybody, not everybody, myself included, it would take a lot of years to get to a point where I can do that. But it is feasible. But that idea of um, the the transition, that's why I think that's such an important iconic book in my shelves. It's a transition book that or an access book that gives people something that is subject wise and visually akin to sort of what they're seeing in their everyday lives, but is that sort of opening of the door into a like deeper world of painting and galleries and fine art and things of the sort. Do you thinking about um, the that idea of that access point or that the ability of someone seeing this for the first time and realizing like, oh, this is this is a world out there that I've never seen. Were you someone when you were growing up that had access to a lot of art that
Oh
or
yeah,
was that sort of
my father, he went to the High School of Music and Art in New York, so he went to LaGuardia. I
okay,
have an older cousin who was my art idol coming up. His name is Dave Cooper, and he did a lot of work for DC Comics. He did I think toy boxes back in the day. Like like it's kind of like I knew having someone in your family that is making his living doing art makes you know that it's possible.
yeah,
Then I have most of my uncles can draw or paint. I found out my uncle Billy was my mother's oldest brother that he worked on a comic book at one time. My cousin Percy, who when I was in school, he was in his 70s, and and he my parents have paintings by him in their house. But the difference between me and them is that my dad had an awful lot of talent, but uh he also had life circumstances to deal with. So he went into the army and then he became a police officer, and and because of the hard work of that generation, people like me and my cousin, we get to go ahead and do these things that are a little riskier, that are a little maybe outside of the norm, and so I'm very thankful for my parents and my uncles and my older cousins, for having given us that foundation.
yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, the idea of like, especially with your dad, like there's priorities that have to take place, and as much as
Yeah,
art
yeah.
art is accessible to everyone, that does not mean that everyone has the opportunity to take advantage of it. Um,
Hmm.
in whatever given situation, it's the same thing. Like I don't think I would be. I mean, I know I'd want to be an artist, but I definitely took advantage of the opportunity that uh, previous generations have given me through sort of access to art, etc. Even if it wasn't their like my parents, they definitely like art, but not to the same level that I do. And but they knew that like they had to give me access because otherwise they're like shortchanging their son in the process. No one wants to do that.
No,
So
no.
tell me a little bit about sort of like the thing that again that fascinates me historically from sort of the world that you're in is this your aesthetic is and forgive me because I'm generalizing here, but is different than what a majority of the kidlit world is.
You want
Like
okay, so here's the thing. Like I feel like when I look, so if I have an idol in the kidlit world, it's going to be Jerry Pinkney, right?
okay,
And when I see, the amount of detail, the amount of hard work in his books, um, that's what I want to do. I just happen to be an oil painter,
yeah,
but
okay,
I want to carry on that kind of tradition. Uh, yeah, sorry, I'm mixing and thinking while I talk. Um, yeah, so and when you look back at a lot of older books, these are the things that people did on a regular basis. It didn't look out of the ordinary for somebody to be doing a book and it just had painting after painting after painting in it,
Yeah.
or for somebody to be cranking out something to be in a newspaper. It's just gonna go in the newspaper, and it's like this full on painting. So we have, those guys like your James Montgomery Flaggs and your Rockwells, and
Yeah.
they were sitting there doing whole paintings
Yeah, I know. Well,
fast.
that's yeah.
Yeah.
You're. Have you ever been to the Brandywine Museum?
No, no.
Oh, it's outside
Where is it
Philadelphia.
located?
It's outside Philadelphia. I think it's
Okay.
technically in New Jersey. I could be wrong, but
Okay.
um, it's the Golden Age illustrator. So it's Wyeth and it's uh, um, Howard Pyle and
Yeah.
Louisa May Wilcox. I'm trying to remember all the different names.
Yeah.
And you walk in there, and these illustrations that were meant for books are these like 8 foot paintings that
Yes. Yes.
are so like, how I don't. I walked out of that museum being angry because I realized like I have so much more to learn after going through that, and it's that same sentiment of like it could be just generationally too that like the aspect of computers and mass media that we don't take some of the what do I want to say, like the art making to the same sort of mental space, that it's sort
Hmm.
of seen as a commercial output and not a fine art practice or things of the sort. So tell me a little bit about sort of entering the kidlit world, and obviously
So
Brown was huge, but I
yeah,
imagine
so how I got into it was I'm working at Hallmark Cards, and a lot of people have come through there, right? A lot of illustrators that you would know. And so it's my first illustration job coming out of school. And Shane Evans, I don't know if you're familiar with his work. You probably he did Chocolate Me and My Brother Charlie and
okay, yeah,
gosh, oh, I wish I could. It's got such a lyrical title, but I cannot remember the name of it, and I'm looking at the he did a book with a local with a she's not local, but with an author that lives here with Tamika Fryer Brown, and I can't remember the title because it is long and lyrical, but it's great.
yeah,
But anyway, Shane just comes downstairs one day and he walks in my cubicle. He's like, "Hey man, you ever think of doing children's books, right?" And I was like, "No, but I'll give it a try." And so that's how I ended up doing children's books. My agent Regina Brooks was somehow involved in that first project. I don't remember what it was, and I started working with her, and she's been my agent ever since.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Is
So
I mean, when that uh, fellow Hallmark person came into, I can't remember the name, but
Shane,
walked into your cubicle. It wasn't with a project, was it, or was it sort of just
I
like was
don't
it
know how. My guess is I have no idea. I've never talked to him about like why he didn't just do the project, right? But Shane had already done a whole bunch of books. I think at that point, the book that everybody would have known him from was he did Shack and the Beanstalk,
Oh yeah,
and
okay,
so yeah, and so he just wanted to see if I maybe wanted to do a book, and and that's how it all started for me. That's how it all started for me. So and like anything else that's happened in my career, almost everything good that's ever happened to me in my art life has been word of mouth, and there's no exception to that. I mean that's just another example of that.
yeah. It's that idea? So there was a book that was tied to that then.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
And and the reason why you don't know what that book was is that I did a terrible job and they gave the book to somebody else because I
oh
didn't
okay,
know what I was doing, and I did not ask any questions. Right, big ego. I didn't want to ask any questions. I just wanted to thug it out and figure it out. But I tell that story because I don't think I think kids think that when they see you being somewhere that everything you've always done has always worked out. I'm like,
Yeah,
no, my first book was a complete failure, right? But look at things. Things are going all right now.
yeah,
So
yeah.
so you know,
No, I'm gonna have to
yeah.
hunt that book down now afterwards, and I know
All
you
I
did
know was
work on
that
it.
all I
Yeah,
know was that it was originally they wanted Floyd Cooper to do it, but he was busy. So when I used to see Floyd, God rest the dead, when I used to see Floyd, I would say like, yeah, man, thank God you were busy. I wouldn't be sitting here,
yeah.
like, yeah,
The
yeah.
when were you at Hallmark? What years?
I think it was 97 through '01.
97 through '01. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think because I've had on quite a few guests that have worked at Hallmark throughout the years, and I'm trying to think of all the different names. The only one that's springing to mind right now is Lori Keller, but I don't
I don't know
remember.
that.
I think she may have rolled through there earlier. I believe. I think Lori
Hmm.
Keller. But, um,
It's
so
a great place to get your career started. It's one of those things where I look at it like grad school, except for they pay you.
yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
going to say they pay you well, but they do pay
yeah.
you.
Did did you go to
And
school in Kansas City then?
no, I went to school in New York. I went to School of Visual Arts.
Okay, SVA.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
so I'm an SVA dude. 209 East 23rd Street.
The I know a ton of folks. In fact, I have a relative that's at SVA right now,
Okay.
and I was just reading up. They used to be a for profit, and I think this last year the alumni bought the school essentially and
Oh,
turned it
get
into.
out of here.
Yeah, there's
Yeah, I
some.
remember the owner used to drive up in his old timey Rolls Royce and park across the street.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was like
no, I
a it
think
was like a family business. Yeah.
yeah, I think it's something to do with the alumni bought or like bought out the school, and now it's a nonprofit. And it was always
I know they
interesting.
were having issues with their funding at one point, and I have I had a I think I had a good education at SVA. There were a couple teachers I thought were a little crappy,
Yeah,
but I've never been happy with like if I'm in the city, I cannot get onto the campus at all. I'm like, well, can I get a pass? Like sometimes you want to visit an old teacher or something like that. I'm
yeah.
like, well, can I get a pass? Can you do this? Can you walk me around? It's just everything is just no, 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 no. And I'm like, man, I paid a lot of money not
Wait,
compared to what college costs now, but
is
I
that
feel like I paid
still
a.
like? Can you
I
do
don't
you have to
know. The
file
last
that
time
now?
I
Or does
tried to get
everybody?
on the campus was maybe 5 or 6 years ago.
Uh,
And I understand they have, there's security issues, there's things to think
yeah,
about. But I mean, how do you have a successful school if your alumni doesn't feel welcome?
yeah.
So
No, that's the. I would think right now you could walk in and be like, just just walk in with those medals, all the different things around your neck.
I mean, with at SBA, like that's probably not a big deal, right? Like,
That's true.
there's
That's
a
true.
lot
There's
of
a lot of things
like
that
Eric
support it.
Velasquez went there. Lots of people went to SBA. So
You got to just yeah, you got to wear all of them at once and hope that someone notices. Um, but so you ended up in KC though for Hallmark then.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
I
um,
I was living in New York and I just didn't have the guts to show anybody my work. And so I remember I was back at the campus and I was visiting one of my old teachers. And this was back when you could get onto the campus, right?
yep.
Maybe when I looked like a student a little bit more. Um, and the teacher just said, "Hey, Hallmark is in town today. You should run home, grab your portfolio, and drop it off at Society of Illustrators." And so that's what I did. I grabbed my portfolio. I didn't have time to make sure it was neat, organized, or clean. I just dropped it off. And then the next day, I was one of the people that they wanted back. I think they only picked I was like the person. I can't remember if they picked anyone else in New York. And I remember walking out and I saw one of my friends from school and she just looked at me and she just goes, "Oh, I hate you." Right? Like,
Yeah.
and and I felt very bad, but that's how I got the good news.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. And it took a long time for them to hire me, but they went all over the country looking for illustrators, and they hired me. They hired a humor illustrator named Brian Gordon, and he does foul language comics. If you're familiar, it's about this duck who's a parent. It's freaking hilarious. Um, and and they hired a designer, and that was it for the whole year.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Now wait, did they? Not all of them are from SVA though, right? That was just
No,
yeah,
no. It was a nationwide search.
yeah. I just
Yeah.
it's one of those things where like the uh the advantage of a big school like that is the folks coming in. When I was at RISD, we'd have Disney would come on campus periodically, and there's a mad scramble to
Yeah.
get people to be
Yeah.
seen. And I don't think it happens as much in the same way that it does or that it
So,
did in the '90s because now you can be seen on social media or you can be seen out and about. Um,
yeah. What
but
years were you at RISD?
I was there from '96 to 2000.
Okay, okay. I went to an arts high school in Forestville, Maryland called Suitland High School. And so we sent a lot of kids to a lot of great schools. So my
Yeah.
homegirl Alicia On, she was at RISD, but she would have been there from 92 through 96.
Ah, yeah, no
Yeah.
crossover. Plus, I
Yeah.
was a shy little boy, so I wouldn't have met anybody at that point.
I
Even if there was crossover, I would have been hiding out in a corner the whole time. Um, but when you were at
mean, think
Hallmark,
about it though. If we wanted to be on stage, we would have been singers, you know?
I don't know about you, I don't know what your voice is like, but my singing voice is not so good.
That's one of the things that I love about being a painter, right? Like,
Yeah,
I don't have to, jump out there. Like, I can go to a show and like, if I see you and you're looking at the work and you like it, I can walk over and I say, "Oh, you like that? I did it."
yeah.
If you don't like it, I don't have to, I don't know who that guy is, right? Like,
That's we have at the school that I teach at, we have gallery shows for like the seniors and thesis work and all these other things.
hmm
I always tell the students like you need to be somewhere nearby your work. Doesn't mean you have to be standing
Yeah, yeah.
like
I
against it.
honestly think, in this day and age, um, you gotta push yourself and get out there more. It's
Yeah,
not my strong suit. It's not what I love to do, but you have to there are it's people aren't out here. I don't feel like people are out here like looking for the necessarily the most talented person. It's that person that already has that following that always has that visibility, and your level of confidence is probably just as important as your level of craft.
yes, yes.
And
The
so if
I,
you're not
I
confident, you better start faking it.
the fake it till you make it argument.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
The
Just be confident until it feels natural.
one of the things that I forget who it was that said it, but we have teachers at school that have been using this, but you need two of three things in order to make it in this industry, and one of them is to make beautiful work. Pretty straightforward. Second one is
hmm
to um, always be on time. Meet your deadlines. Be
Uh,
technically yeah, technically correct.
uh,
And then the other one though is to be a pleasure to work with. And as
yeah,
long as you have
yeah.
two of those three, you will make it. If you can't do two of those three, then you're in trouble. If you do all three, then you're a
You're
superstar.
golden. Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense. That makes
And so just
sense.
that idea of like being a nice person and that means like actually being social and talking to people and not expecting
hmm
things to fall in your lap kind of situation
Yeah,
is
yeah.
such a huge part of this.
I
Um,
was actually discussing that with my wife. Like if you heard the Hallmark story, there are people that I went to school with, that was their like their school goal. and I just showed up. My teacher was like, "Drop off your work," and I got the job. Then I'm just sitting there at Hallmark, and Shane comes downstairs, and it took a while, but now I have a children's book career. You
Yeah.
know, because of the book, I ended up doing an album cover. The album won a Grammy. I didn't win the Grammy, but the album won a Grammy. And so like things, I feel like people like me, and good things happen for me. But this next level is gonna take some what's that called, intentionality, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. It's not just gonna
And
fall
it
into your lap.
and I don't know if anybody is watching this, but what I'm doing is getting this ear in the right place. So I have moved it like 5 times, and that's fine.
I thought that was gonna be some sentiment about like that you were gonna do this in the future and blah blah blah, and then it was the ears, the ears
Yeah,
threw me for a
they're
loop.
the fingers
Um,
of the face.
yeah,
So everybody avoids the fingers. I'm like the ears are the fingers of the face. They gotta be in the right place. Yeah.
it's see
So,
now okay, so I have a question for you then, and
uh,
this is maybe a loaded question on my part, but I always look at artists who um, do, and I don't mean this is not meant to disparage or anything of the sort, but artists who play in a style that's very simplified. And
hmm
I go, man, I wish I like simplified my work more, just because of the speed factor and because of the like not having to worry about every single detail kind of situation. I'm definitely not
hmm
as detailed as a lot of folks that are out there, but I wonder, in your pocket of this industry, do you look at it and go like,
All
I,
right, so I'll tell
you know,
you, I'm working on a book right now, right?
got
A book that I wrote, and it was due, and it's now on hold, right? And I thought that for this book, I could try my hand at working digitally, do something a little flatter, a little, still good, but a little flatter, a little faster,
yeah,
because my books, they'll take like 9 months to a year, and unless the book really sells well, I'm not gonna, you start spreading the money out over enough months, it's not great money, but I'm
yeah.
proud of the work. Um, but it just didn't, I don't know, it just didn't work. I don't know. There's either something I'm missing, or the fact that that's not what I normally do. It will probably take um, more time and energy at working in that genre before I was ready to debut it. Where oil painters, we have ginormous egos, and so I was just like, hey man, give me a little bit of time, I can figure this out. It's just
Yeah.
another medium, and but no, I was just like, nah, this was pretty doggone difficult. I don't think it was what anybody wanted, me included, and so we're gonna revisit that project in a little bit.
I mean, it was it because you were like fighting against, or were you doing like something Sisyphean that you were fighting an uphill battle of you didn't know how to do it, or was it the just
I
the learning
think
curve was so high?
I think I don't know. I just felt like I needed a little bit more practice at the at the style, at the genre, maybe a little bit more research into it. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I make
Yeah,
that
yeah.
assumption all the time in my own work of like, oh, this will be easy, this will be fast. Or, like every night when I do one of these Gavin doodles, I'm like, I got this perfect vision in my head of how this thing is going to play out, my sketch or whatever it may be. And then
hmm
halfway through the night, I go, oh, that's not going to work.
I didn't think it would be easy, but I thought for sure that like that it would be. It's the type of thing like when I did the Just Like Jesse Owens book, right?
Yep.
It's a traditional medium, so that wasn't too tough. But just kind of figuring out how the medium works, right? And it took a little bit, but by the end, like I had really figured it out, and I also got lucky in that In the studios where I work, there's a wildlife painter upstairs. His name is Walter Sanford, and he works in pastel sometimes. He had a lot of great advice, things that I should do, things that I should look out for, pastels I should buy, and just working digitally, working the layers, making sense of everything, making sure that keeping track of everything. It's just it was a thing, it was a thing. It was fun, it was challenging, but it was also a lot.
Yeah.
So, we'll
How
go back at that one later.
how long does it take you to do one of the oil paintings then for like one of the books? Like are you a year
Oh,
per book or are
it
you
depends. Some of them, like I just get in that zone and I'll crank that puppy out in like a day. And then there are others, they take like they take like hold on one second. Can you scoop that? Sorry, my son is walking by. Um Yeah, and others, some of them are big, they'll take like a week, sometimes 2 weeks. Some of them I will start early on and I'll know that I'm gonna put some time and energy into this one, right? With these books, you do have to watch your time. So you can't spend a month on every one like it's an oil painting, right?
Yep.
But what you can do is decide like, okay, well, this moment in the illustration in the book, this moment in the book, these are going to be big, and so I need to budget the time for these few pieces and the cover. And then there are others where you're like, okay, this needs to be a simpler composition, so that I can get a little bit a simpler composition so that I can get this one done a little faster. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so like if I have a page in my book and you look and you'll see like it's a face and I've zoomed in on it, I paint faces. So like that's like one, I wanted to do that, and two, that's my opportunity to get a little rest. You
Yeah.
know,
Heat
um,
up.
yeah, yeah.
Heat up for
But
the
then
next.
if it's like a city scene where you have people on the street and recently, I've been making it a point that when I do a city scene, that I'm like, yeah, there should probably be a dog or a cat there, right? This is the city street. Like, there's no pigeon there. I'm really, they have a lot of elements. They have a lot of elements, and so I'm thinking a lot about. Let's see how that one is. Ooh, that's dark, dark. I'm thinking a lot about where all these little things are gonna go in this composition. So there are those compositions that are simpler, and there are those that are more complex.
Yeah. No, I mean there I think every illustrator you could probably like if you're in the business you can spot and go like, oh, this is the piece that they needed uh you know some R&R for the day.
Yeah,
Not necessarily that it's a bad piece, but it's just you can't make every piece the star of that book.
yeah, and then on top of that, if every piece was the absolute star of the show, then there would nothing would stand out. What is that? In The Incredibles, if everyone is special, if everyone is super, then no one's super. You
Yeah.
know?
Yep.
Yeah. So
No, I think that's 100% in this. Like it's by comparison, and when I teach picture books, the idea of you know you don't want to do spread after spread after spread on all of them because otherwise you set up the standard that people expect a spread for the next one, or you can't have everything be loud because then it's not loud. So you need something quiet to make the thing louder. You need that
yeah, yeah,
contrast in order for it to work out. And so like the same sentiment. I just admittedly I am not a good oil painter. I failed. No, I didn't fail, but I got a C in oil painting, which to me was failing at the
mm,
time. And so when I think of oil painting, I just imagine it would take me forever, even to do the simplest one. And so I look at your work and I just like, how do you find the time to do all this stuff? And it makes sense, that idea of like prioritizing or giving yourself the freedom to be a little bit looser on other ones. So when you get to the time where you have to be intense you can
And,
do it.
and
Um,
if you're looking, this is a pretty big brush, that I'm starting out with. And
yeah,
so, like people, you see people that paint murals, they use like ginormous brushes, or they're using the spray paint cans with the super huge nozzles, or the like the almost the automotive guns, because you have to cover that space. So, there are ways.
yeah. No, there's
There we go.
it's about being efficient, and the you learn that through practice. I imagine that those first books that you worked on, were probably slower than the books that you're doing now, just because of the learning curve and to understand sort of what you can get away with and um, how to sort of take advantage of said story or things
I
of the
think
sort.
that sometimes they're slower, but the other thing is I'm ambitious, and I'm competitive, right? So sometimes I'll start and I'm like, hey, what if this book were like this? Or what if like when I did Crown, it worked out, right? And then I said, well, that was great. What if I could do this book larger, like the whole book, like Crown, but I'll do every painting twice as big. And that was Letter Buck, and that
Okay.
just took too long, right? So I'm like, okay, I can't do that. But
Yeah.
in my mind, I was like, oh yeah, I can absolutely paint everything that was 20 by 30, 30 by 40, and like I just knew I could do it. I just knew I could do it, but it was a little too much.
So let me ask a question, and this is a question I don't think I've ever asked anybody on here, but it sounds like you're talking about this idea of like confidence and
Hmm.
having that sentiment that like I got this. I don't even with the idea of someone coming to you and saying, hey, have you ever thought about doing a picture book? And it's that like yeah, I can do that. And I think that is and I again, I may be generalizing here, but I think that's a sign of someone who's like going to make it an art, who just says, I can do this, and doesn't ever sort of stop to go, I don't know, I'm a little scared or I'm a little hesitant. And I'm wondering, where does that come from? Were you always confident with your work? Were you always sort of
Yeah, like I tell people like I always say like I don't know if I'm good at anything else in this world, but I can draw. You know what I mean? Like I just like I tell people I'm a painter, but probably before that I'm a draftsman. Like I can draw. Like I love figure drawing. I don't get a chance to get out and do it as much as I would like to, but boy do I love to draw the figure. And it actually breaks my heart that a lot of schools are taking figure drawing out.
yeah.
Because a lot of kids don't want to do it. I think they look at it as too difficult. But I'm like, that's why you should do it. Like once you can do it, you can do this. You can do dang near anything. Let's see. Uh,
No,
that's
I,
bright.
I like, as I teach in school, there are times where like there is this hesitation, and my experience is there's people who think they don't need figure drawing because they want to play in a world that's maybe a little bit more sort of surreal or abstract,
Mm-hmm.
but in reality, figure drawing isn't about, and this is maybe a weird statement, but it's not always about drawing the figure. It's
It's
about
not.
looking. It's about
Mm-hmm.
seeing, and it's about sort of understanding what's in front of you, and being able to recall that later is an even better, or like I shouldn't say a better skill, but is a skill that will come in handy. But you only do that by looking and studying. And so, as much as you want to draw cartoons or you want to play in a sort of uh, more abstract sort of world, you are going to need some of that skill of, understanding form and light.
So I've taught on the high school level and on the college level, and I think one of the most upsetting things is meeting students that have these amazing ideas and don't have the just the very basic skills to complete them,
Yeah.
and you're just like, man, this is a drawing one thing, this is a foundation level drawing thing, or this is a figure drawing thing. And so there was one year where I taught senior illustration portfolio, and um, we just started the class with a little bit of figure drawing. We got up and modeled for each other like 10 minutes
Yep.
because people needed, better drawing chops, and it allowed people to be able to do the things that they wanted to do.
Now let me ask: did they sort of rebel and go, "We already know this. We've already taken figure drawing."
I think I remember in the beginning of the class, right? I would try to teach things, and they were not that receptive.
Yeah.
And I was adjunct filling for a professor who was ill, right? And so I was at a certain point, I was like, well, I get paid either way, right? So I just came in, I hand out the work, and I just hanging out, upset, but just hanging out. And then finally they were like, well, are you going to teach us? And I was like, but every time I was trying to teach you guys didn't want to hear what I had to say,
Yeah.
and then once I started being able to teach, they understood why I wasn't. I think that sometimes when people tell you, when you tell a student that there's something that they don't know, they get upset. But I'm like, but you're in school. Why would you know everything? This is why you're here, right?
Yeah.
And it's my
That's the point.
job. It's literally my job to figure out what you don't know and make sure you know it. So I don't know why you would expect to know all these things. And the funny thing is, like, a lot of times they will think that sometimes you are literally teaching them things that you didn't get at their age and wish you had gotten.
Yes. Yes.
And so, like, the idea is not that I came up here and I'll somehow shot and I'm doing better than you. No, 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 no. I missed this. And I wish someone had told me this when I was your age. And so that's why I'm telling you now. So you're not in that same spot. Um, yeah,
At the end of their senior year with my business practice class, where we go through like how to deal with contracts and things of the sort, I get out
that's what
my
I needed at SVA. Let me
yeah,
tell you.
I got out my portfolio. I still have my portfolio of work from college, and it's not everything, but it's a smattering of different things from
Hmm.
here, and it is uh, a real testament to the fact that you don't have to be perfect when you walk out
Hmm.
the door, and well, I mean the work is weird and out there, and like doesn't, in my opinion, is not portfolio ready, but it also shows them that like the amount of access they have to things is so grand right now that
Yes,
you need to
they're
take
so
advantage.
much better than we were. Like, I
Yes,
really think on the whole, they're better because they get to see more.
yeah,
Yeah,
they get
yeah.
they got a head start essentially, and I know that we got the same thing from our teachers in a way,
Hmm.
but I do think that just the level of what was expected in the portfolio when I got out versus what I ask students to do and to see their successes, it's such a good thing for them to see that stuff. But I also know that that I am teaching them, or I'm trying to teach them all the things that I didn't get, just like you said. And here's proof that I did not get it. If
Yeah,
you look at the
yeah,
chunk that's in front of you, you will understand this is not me sort of spouting things like, "Oh, I knew this from the beginning." I clearly did not, and you can see it in this example and this example and this one down the line. Um, did you, when you were in school, were you in school for illustration or were you in for painting?
yeah. I was an illustration major. I always wanted to actually be a fine artist, but I was an illustration major because in illustration was where you learned academic painting at
Yeah.
SVA. So,
Yep.
so there was no, yeah. So there was. so there was and what upsets me a little bit about that is that if it was very difficult to get. I was like, oh well, I'd like to take some of the fine arts classes. They were like, well, you can't. There were all these rules, all these barriers, all these walls. So the illustrators couldn't take the fine art classes, and the design, we couldn't take up room in the designer and in the design studio. And but I think that now those barriers and walls aren't there like there used to be.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, back then, you had to go to the computer lab. Like people didn't have their own computers. Like that's crazy talk. So like,
That's
and now everybody shows up with their own laptops. So,
no, when I was in school, it was there was printmaking for illustrators, there was graphic design for illustrators. It was
uh,
very like limited in um, you know access point, but
hmm
also I think that the that idea of how do I put this, the the expectation that you would go out and try things in another department was not pushed in the same way that it probably is, or the barriers were a little bit higher, the walls were a little bit higher,
yeah, yeah,
program time. But that also being said, the same thing, like you mentioned that idea, and I don't everybody knows, or I don't think everybody listening knows exactly what you mean by academic painting, but that idea of, I think, art school back in that day, and even potentially today, that the painting program is not about like, here's a Renaissance technique.
no,
Uh,
no,
and if you're looking for that, like, oh, I really need to learn how to do glazing, and I really need to learn how to do this and that, and whatever it may be, oftentimes that is in the illustration program versus the painting program. And it's no slight to the painting program. It's just
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
skill that is not
The fine
always.
arts, they were thinkers, like,
Yeah.
they, when you talk to people that have been through the fine arts program, they really know how to talk really well about what it is they're making. And I'll do a painting and I'll be like, well, don't you think it's pretty? You know what I mean? Like, is it about something? Yes, but I come from an illustration background, so if I did my job, I feel like you should have an idea what it's about. But
Yep.
the idea that I get to put this placard next to it and that'll explain it to me is like nuts. But I think we need to just take advantage of that, right? Because with illustration, your teachers are like, well, if it's not on the wall, like you're not going to be there to explain it when you send it
Yep.
in to your
The
to your
art director.
into your art director. Exactly,
I
exactly.
mean, it's that sentiment of, yeah, it should speak for itself, and
hmm
I mean, that's part of the commercial aspect of like, um, you you are not going to be there when someone picks up a newspaper and reads this thing, or you're not going to be there
Yes, yes.
when situations happen. What I think is really interesting, I'm wondering if you had the same thing when you were at SVA, is, and I still think it's interesting in schools today. I see it. Watercolor and other mediums are not generally taught in painting programs. That it tends to be like
Mm.
oil or acrylic. And so,
Yeah,
like,
there was no. They didn't
must
teach us. I don't remember there being watercolor. I don't
yeah.
remember it.
And
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a holdover from something else. I don't know. Like, I mean, I know watercolor back in the day was considered sort of a sketch medium for a lot of painters. It
hmm
was go out and sketch in watercolor, bring it back to the studio, and
It's
make paint.
funny because it's really the most difficult medium, to be honest with you. Like, I don't understand how, like, whenever you meet a hobby artist, they're always like, I do watercolor. And I'm like, you'd be better off oil painting,
Yeah,
like,
you have to learn how to like. It is a
yeah,
to know exactly how water is going to work and how it's going to evaporate, depending on the weather, depending on like all these other factors, is always so
yeah,
crazy. But it's interesting to me, and it's that same sentiment of like, it's one of those like technical skills that probably um, is more technique oriented in its study than potentially a sort of like an abstract painting would be. And so it sort of falls in the illustration department a lot of times for those kind of courses.
mm,
It's funny because, obviously you were maybe a few years ahead of me, but it sounds like it's the same basic challenges or the same basic concerns
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
year to year. And it's sad that it hasn't really solved itself in the same way or in a good way since. But it is the battle of sort of uh, uh, education standards and what's expected in different programs.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
where did you learn to paint then? Like, was that? I mean, obviously,
So I
illustration
had
background
well,
is interesting.
so
But,
I actually had a rough time in the painting classes at SVA. Like I really felt like I was being ignored. And to be honest with you, I don't know if it was I had a legendary painter whose name I won't mention, but me and a few of the other black students just didn't feel like he was talking to us.
oh,
Um, and so we actually had to go see the dean about that. And so I don't feel like I got a lot of painting education at SVA. And that's really too bad because I actually got juried into the painting. Like I was in a junior level painting class in my sophomore year because I came out of an art program in high school. So I showed them my high school and I was like, I don't need to take this beginning level classes. So I got juried in, and then I had just a really, really rough time. So I did more drawing at SBA. I took every on location drawing class I could, and some of them twice with my favorite teacher there, John Ruggieri, and
yeah.
um and I used paintings from high school to get my job at Hallmark. Those were the paintings that were in my portfolio. They were from high school, and
Wow. Okay.
um and uh and uh one second, I
Was
think that's the color we need. Um and
can,
yeah, sorry,
I like hearing. I like
we're on
hearing
an eye.
yeah,
Um,
the struggle in the background trying to figure out the color that you.
yeah.
Can I ask? And forgive me because this may be a little bit personal, but just the idea of like obviously in schools now there is a concern about making sure there's representation and there's you know back in the 90s that was not
hmm
always like something that
No,
was
no.
expected in a classroom. But what did you get a lot of um, diversity in what was being shown to you in your classes?
No,
Artists?
it was it was exactly what you would expect. Like there was a heavy influence on, the golden age guys.
Yeah,
I think we had Marshall Arisman, so he is a madman. So he showed us everything. But really, you got a lot of kind of exactly what you would expect.
yeah, the
A
class
lot.
sort of like
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And I'm proud of that kind of that classic education, but by the same token, you get in a room with other people that had been to programs that are more that they show that they learn more diverse things, and you realize like, oh man, like as much as I really know this stuff, boy was I missing some things by not getting
yeah,
uh, yeah, it was just by not being shown anything else. Like, how does this, what does this have to do with African art, right? What does this have to do with, there was no, what's that called? There was no emphasis on what was going on in the rest of the world for sure. Um,
there's no like historical or regional
no,
like
no,
cultural
and
significance being implied through all of it.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
So,
no, it's it like on the teaching side now. Obviously, like that is something that's a concern for a lot of students, and I try to get across as much as I can, but I know I'm no expert. But it always worries me when I think back to like the historical sort of like years of when I went through school and what was expected and what was shown and the impact that had on people, whether it was intentional or not. Uh,
mhm.
it was, it's
If
seen.
you think
And
about it, right, there's just, boy, I just lost that thought. It
I
was
mean,
going to be really good too.
oh, I
Oh,
can.
well.
It's right now in my head. It's the most beautiful thought ever. But I mean, it's like the
Yeah.
equivalent of, and this sounds really crazy to me nowadays, but just the idea of people being out in the '90s was not the same thing, and so like you didn't hear about art that was related to anything that was
No, no.
outside of the norm. Let's put it that way,
when
or outside
when
of the.
I taught the women in my class outnumbered the men, and I was telling them, I was like, you gotta understand, like I was like, I was like, girls in art school, like that was, I was like,
In the 90s? Yeah.
it was just a bunch of dudes. We did, and then you gotta figure out how that can't be any good for the public, right? Like,
Yeah.
so later I get out and I've got to do an ad for something that I'm not the core consumer for, you know.
Yep.
But what do I know? Like not only have like I've gone to school and my world has gotten smaller. That's not the way things are. My art world got bigger, but my social world got smaller. And how is that supposed to be the way it's supposed to go?
It's such a weird you mentioned the idea of like the disparity between um gender in art school, and that's still like it's
Hmm.
almost shifted completely the other direction from what I
It
was taught.
has.
Or at least it's definitely shifted. I don't know if it's completely the other direction, but how fast some of this has changed, and my hope is that it's always for the better, and that people are getting what they want out of school. But it's just one of those concerns for me. And thinking about when you mentioned that idea of not getting um, some of the content, or the feeling other in a class that you shouldn't be feeling, that always scares me. And
Yeah, yeah.
what that
Or
what
like if you walk into certain classes, like people don't assume that you should be there. Like this has not to do with school, but I was represented by a gallery at one point, and I walked in, and one of the people that worked there tried to explain to me where I was and what a gallery was. And I was like, well, that's
oh
my painting over there. So I'm pretty sure I'm in the right place, and it's just,
ouch.
it's just kind of crazy, all right, there we
Do you
go.
think, I mean, and I don't even know if we need to go down this road forever of any sort. Like, we can talk about anything, in my
Mm,
opinion. Just that idea of do you think that it's gotten better? Do you think it's gotten, or is it, it looks
I
better on the
think that,
surface, but not
I
necessarily?
think that, I think that right now, a lot of black figurative work is hot. So people are looking for the next black figurative artist. And so it's better now. But I don't know that things will like, when that type of work, when the if the train goes back, there's
Yeah.
no, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Give it 10 years. And is it is it still the
Hmm.
hot thing, or is it like, it
Yeah,
shouldn't be
is
the hot.
this the type of thing where someone said, "Hey, this is the way it should be," or is this the type of thing where someone is like, "Okay, well, we did that, we made our money, let's move on," you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Is it, I mean, in a way, saying that it's the hot thing is probably the most dangerous aspect, because it's a fad
Yeah,
at that point, and it's not there to stay. It should be just part of uh, the zeitgeist in general of what art should be. So, I'm going to jump back to Kidlit here, because I know there's a lot of people that tune in for Kidlit, and we're going into
yes,
this is this is life.
philosophy.
We're
Yeah,
getting deep, getting deep. Sometimes I talk about farts on here, so I'm not sure that we need to do that, but um, we can go into lower brow stuff if need be. Um, but thinking about sort of the work that you make, one of the questions that I had for you that I sort of prepped in my head ahead of time was, a
that,
lot of the work that you do has this like inspirational sort of bend to it, and I'm
hmm
wondering, like, it's a lot of like biographies, or it's work that's meant to sort of like inspire in a way. And I'm wondering, I don't know your full repertoire, your full oeuvre of picture books, but have you ever wanted to just like do a book that's about something like really trivial, and uh, doesn't require the weight and
Yeah, I would like to do, and I think I eventually will. I think I have a sense of humor. I'd like to do something funny. You
yeah,
know, I like to do something funny. I think that, let's see, I'm going to move the camera because I think we're getting a lot of glare. I like to do something funny. Um, I think that also what people don't realize is if you are working on that kind of subject matter, right? A lot of the work that I do, um, these subject matters are fraught, like the history. You know, a lot of people die, a lot of people don't make it, a lot of things that are
yeah,
a lot of things that we are fighting for, we're still fighting for. And
yep,
so I tell people like like I don't know how many people want to get up every day and deal with like racism and inequity all day and then go home, that's the thing. So books like I Am Every Good Thing, books like Crown, those prideful books, those uplifting books, those are an awful lot of fun because it gets you a little bit out of that a little bit out of uh, 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 that place where you're dealing with a lot of sadness and despair.
yeah.
Now, granted,
Hello, everybody. Again, for those that were not with us prior, and I assume some folks will jump in here, but we have on tonight, and I'll let him back in 1 second, but we have on Gordon C. James, who did books like Crown, the newest one, Go Tell It, about the writer James Baldwin, book about Jesse Owens, etc. He's with us. We had the Instagram crashed on us for a second there, and so I'm going to let our guest back in. So I'm going to put a little Ask Us Anything in the comments here, and then you're allowed to ask away. Gordon's dropping some insight left and right for us. And so let me just pin this real quick. There we go. And then I'm going to see about getting our guest back in. So bear with me. Okay, there. So let me just get my feed up here. There we go. We're back.
okay, sounds good.
Sorry about that. You never know when Instagram's going to be a jerk and try to mess with us, and so as long as we're up and running again. But I forget
Okay.
where it cut off when you were talking. But um,
Oh, I'm not sure.
yeah,
I'm not
I think
sure.
we can jump to the next point, whatever it may be. Um, so that idea of like playing in a world that is potentially a little different, or I don't know, different makes it sound like it's like you don't live in a world of sort of stilliness and things of the sort, and you do
Mhm.
in some of the work. But that idea of like how far are you willing to stretch and do things, like, is there, thinking about, how can I put this in a succinct way? I always worry about style and about making sure that I have this like cohesive brand with my
Mhm.
work. I think it sometimes can be a little detrimental, because all of a sudden,
Mhm.
like, I'm not willing to jump out of that and try new things. And I'm wondering, in the case of sort of your uh, your aesthetic with the painting, with the sort of fine art approach, um, looking at the Jesse Owens one, or do I have that one here? There we go.
Mhm.
With that idea of working with pastels, like, you still have some realism in there. It's maybe a little bit more of a drawing aesthetic. There's a
Yeah.
looseness to it. Your edges aren't as defined as potentially in some of the other work, but it still has the life and the art aspect, the fine art in there. And I'm wondering, sort of like, do you have boundaries in which you play, or that you establish for yourself?
Uh, I know that you know, I don't know that I try to put up the boundaries. I don't live like too much in, in a fantasy world, but I do try to let's see. I want that edge. One
Yeah.
second.
When are you going to draw a dragon in one of your pieces?
But that's the thing. So like, I think I can do it.
Yeah.
So I've got I do have well, it's not quite a graphic novel, but I've got uh, a book coming out where, it's going to be more drawing. They're going to be more expressive. We're going to push some proportions. Um, Lord willing, it was supposed to be black and white interiors, but if they can get a budget for a little bit of color, like I'm gonna throw a little color in there. So I'm gonna have like I intend to have some fun with it,
Yeah.
All right, there
That's
we go.
that
It's
idea of
this one is athletes, so it should be
you got to have
I should
action.
get it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you
So
have to have movement showing, and so there's like some
yeah,
muscle
you can give
fibers.
people heroic proportions and
Yeah.
yeah.
Is there when thinking about aesthetic just in general, um, do you feel like your approach to art making now has been really organic? Do you feel like some of it, like obviously the idea of your fine art and your illustration are relatively, in my mind, like when I look at it, they feel really close. I don't look at it and go like, wow, one is out of left field compared to the next. Um, but I wonder, when you look at it yourself, do you see the sort of, there's a big separation in your mind, or is
I
it
think the separation comes from the subject matter in that some of my paintings I do a lot of nudes,
yeah.
and clearly that's not something that the kids, that's not what the kids want. um
You
so
never know. You never know.
so so
There seems to be a lot of 14-year-olds buying your picture books all of a sudden.
so in that way they're very different, in
Yeah.
that way they're very different. I think that my fine artwork is definitely more for mom and dad,
Yeah.
especially now. Like before, uh, my paintings were just kind of pretty paintings, and they kind of they in my opinion they were brand new old paintings, right? And so then I felt like the funny thing is that when I felt like I had found my fine art language was right when Crown hit, and I had a daughter going off to college, so I was like, well, that has to wait, But
Do
uh,
you with I mean, obviously, like that blend, or the what do I want to say, like the crossover is such a huge element to your work, and I look at it and just immediately go like, I don't really see a huge separation. Obviously, like the story,
I
the
think the way
narrative.
that it's done should be about the same. Like I I do my best to make the process the same. I try to make my books almost practice for the paintings. Like
Ah,
I should
okay.
come out of every book a little better painter,
Yep.
so that when I get a chance to paint, like I'm even stronger for having done the books.
So let me ask you a question here, which is, maybe it's a little bit more specific to sort of my practice, but when I work on any book, I set goals ahead of time. Oftentimes they're tied to an aesthetic. And
Hmm.
that idea of like, oh, on this one, I really want to try being more colorful, or I want to try this new texture, or whatever it may be. But I'm wondering, when you're working on these, because you're working with a paint that is, it has a history, it has a tradition to it. Do you find that you sort of um, set goals that are like either rebellious to the material, or challenging in some way of like what's expected, or do you feel like it's about just making a beautiful piece, and who cares about some like
I think it's
redefine thing?
about, for me, making a beautiful piece that tells the story, like first and foremost, like it does a really good job telling the story. And the other thing is that I want people to be like I want it to have that oh my God factor, like the how the heck did he manage to do it?
Yeah.
Like that's the goal. Like wow, like like, okay, so this is a book, and there are how many of these paintings? Like, that's my goal. Um, I'd like to, do books where people wonder how I did the work.
Yeah, they're wowed
I
in a way. They're
yeah, like I
yeah,
was looking at just today I was looking at Jerry Pinkney's book, Minty, his book about Harriet Tubman, and there were a couple pages in there. I'm like, well, geez, well, how the heck did he come up with that? Like, that is a brilliant idea, or um, or that is, like I would have never thought about that composition, or
yeah.
or God, there's certainly a lot of brushstrokes in this. Like, how did he, the time, like just like how did he do it? So that is a lot of I hope that somebody, younger than me is looking at my work like, how the heck did this dude manage to do it? And the good thing is that they could call me and I'll just tell them.
It's
Oh,
not a secret that you keep. It's not a like family recipe.
no,
Yeah.
no.
But you mentioned that.
I feel like at this point, like if I let you know what I did and you could just do it, God bless you, right?
Yeah.
Like it took me a long, long time, right?
Yeah.
So, anybody that can, uh, just like, pop this stuff out in this way, you're gonna make it one way or the other. You might as well make it with me. Like, remember, I was nice to you. You know what I mean? You get to the top, right? Like,
Is there you mentioned that your daughter went off to college. Do you have any kids or that went into art? Did you
no,
no?
no. My daughter's very into theater. She does musical theater, and she's pretty brilliant. She's actually a government major at Cornell, but I don't know. I feel like her heart is going to be in the theater, and yeah. So we're
It's
gonna we're gonna have another artist in the family. You talk about raising artists. Well, here we go.
yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah,
it's not visual art, but it's art nonetheless. So
yeah,
you're gonna have to deal with someone who has all the challenges that go along with the arts, the like the not
yes,
knowing where the
yes.
next paycheck is and all that fun stuff. Um,
Or
or
she will go audition for a Broadway role. She'll get the first one, and it'll be like boom
yep,
on to superstardom, right? I
yep,
tell people all the time, I'm like, it took me like all these years to make it, but your very first book could just be like, I said, I had a little bit of a struggle. You might not. Like, I hope you don't. Like, you know?
she. Well, I'm gonna be crossing my fingers that no matter whether she ends up in, you said was it government
Yeah,
stuff?
government.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which is that's a whole nother like challenge right there, as they
yeah,
should
right.
say. Um, but I will be rooting that you don't have to have any of those questions that art parents have to question or worry about as time goes on.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like my everybody asks me like, oh, is your son into art? And I always say, he's okay with art, but it's not his. He likes math and he likes science and he likes all these other things. And
yeah,
I'm okay with that. There's part of me that goes like, I don't want him to have to run into the hurdles that I had, but at the same time, like you said, he may not have the same hurdles to begin with, and the
yeah.
world's going to be very different by that point. Or,
The funny thing is my daughter draws well, and I have a niece that has even more natural visual arts talent, but neither one of them wanted to do it. And they both said that they wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it because I did it. And I was just like, but here's the whole thing. Like, the whole deal is like, I'm here. I was like, nepotism, here we come.
yeah.
Like, let's do this.
Wait, they didn't want to do it because they thought it would be that
They
because
just
you were already doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
They said they
Okay.
didn't want to be compared to their dad slash uncle. So,
Whatever. Yeah, take advantage of it. That's someone gives you a leg up. I don't see why you
you
wouldn't
know, that's what
jump
I
at.
that's what I would think. I'm like, but so check this out. I have a little cousin now. He is just starting high school, and so he is very into visual art. He just auditioned for a high school program well, they did the portfolio review, so we're waiting to find out how he did. And you know, he's really excited, and I was talking to his mom. I'm like, he doesn't have to make that program, right? And she's like, what do you mean? I was like, because we can just teach him everything. I like, we can do this, like it's not an
Yeah.
issue. If he makes it, that's great, right? And
Yep.
if he doesn't, we'll just do it over Zoom, and he can. I was like, he can have a portfolio ready. Like, trust me, we can get him into art school. So
Yeah. That's
yeah,
I'm having. I have a couple relatives that have gone to art school, and I'm always so proud that like they made it in. But I also know that like it's not make or break. That
yeah, yeah,
like they put so much pressure on themselves of like this. There, in fact, there was one of them in particular that was very, very upset they didn't get into one of the schools, and it's like they got into all these other schools. They wanted to go to RISD. They got into SVA. They got into Pratt. They got into I'm trying to remember all the different ones like
hmm,
MK or uh, Maryland Institute, no, Maryland College of Art and Design.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Like they got into all these like fabulous schools, and it was this one school that they wanted in particular. I'm like, step back and look at this again. Like,
Yeah.
you're
Those are all the
adding the
top flight
negatives.
schools, and you don't know what they were looking for. You have
Yeah,
no idea.
I mean
It didn't have to do with your talent.
that's the challenge of art school in general. Is like you never know, or any like I don't know about you, but you did win at Society of Illustrators, but any of those competition things, it really depends
Yeah,
on the judges for the year. You don't know what they're gonna like, what they're in the mood for that week. If they just had a rough lunch that day and they're not into voting for things because
yeah. I'm
they're
super
leaving
competitive,
everybody
so
sick.
like anytime I don't win something, I'm like, "Arr." Like I don't like. But everybody has their different tastes, and then sometimes, like something will win, right? And I'll be like, I don't understand why that won, and then you'll spend a little time with it, or
Yep.
you'll learn something about it later, and you're like, oh. And then
Yeah.
at that point, you've learned something about your craft or about your genre. Yeah, yeah. So,
I've gone through a lot of bouts of jealousy and envy, especially
oh
early
yeah,
on in my career. I mean, it
oh
still
yeah.
still happens to this day. Admittedly, I think it'd be silly not to say that it isn't there. But I definitely went through quite a few bouts of that early on, and I feel somewhat shameful that I I let it get to me as much as it did.
Oh,
Um,
I don't think you have. I think like if you're, this is how I feel. Like I feel like so look, I can be happy for you, super happy for you, and also wish it was me. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like I'm not gonna be a jerk about it. I'm not gonna be terrible. I'm not gonna be terrible to you, but that doesn't mean that, you know, so if it's not you, you have the opportunity to make it to do something different to make sure it might be you the next time, right? Like,
yep,
you know, um, and and a lot of times, like if you end up where we are, where you're actually making a living from your artwork, right? You're used to you do a lot of winning. You know what I mean? But then you get to the point where you're there, and everywhere you look is somebody who's super duper accomplished, and like it's like the successes maybe slow a little bit, and it's not that you aren't good, it's that now you're in the big leagues, everybody's amazing. Like if you thought you were amazing, so that person and that person and that person and that person. And you're gonna open up social media every day and see something you wish you had thought of. Because there's so many talented people you know how it is. You're probably one of the more talented people in your elementary school, maybe the most talented person in your high school, one of the more talented people in college, and then you get out into the world and all of those people are here working in your
yep.
field. Like it's
That's
a
the argument I always made about art school in general is just that you were the art kid in high school, and now all of a sudden you're not the art kid anymore because everybody's the art kid,
Yes.
and you
Yes.
all of a sudden there's a big like emotional change of I'm not who I thought I was, or I need to stand out in a different way. And I to me that happened when I went to college. I know it happens to a lot of folks. It happens to a lot of students, and then especially in that jumping into the industry that we're in, there is a lot of people out there that you're not just competing with, you know, 60 kids in your grade in elementary school.
No.
Competing with
No.
millions of people.
It's like,
And
oh, you know that book you read when you were a kid that you loved? Yeah, that guy has a new book out this week. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like, it just, I remember I did the African American Children's Book Festival, and I was sitting near, I think the people that I was like sandwiched between was like, was E.B. Lewis
okay.
and gosh, I can't remember the other name. And we just talked about him earlier. Um, Uh, but I'm sitting there next to E.B. Lewis, right? And all of his paintings are just gorgeous. It's like the level of consistency was probably something that I don't know if I had figured out yet. And then somebody walked up with a copy of one of his books with their kid. And that person was like, "Oh, well, I read this book. My dad read me this book, and now I'm reading it with my kid." And I was like, "Oh, wow." You don't realize, when you pop up in the game that there's somebody who's been doing this thing at a very high level longer than you've been alive. Like like
The
and especially, when you first get to a certain point, you're like, oh yeah, look, I'm here. Everybody look out. And no, 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 everybody's here. It's and then it might take you a little bit to like stand out from there. You could do it, but you have to realize that, this it may, if it is for you, because for some people it is. If you continue to make those big leaps, God bless you. But if things slow a little bit, that's fine too. Uh,
it's the thing that like the pessimist in me always thinks, you know, yeah, at some point, like I've been to an event where, and I don't have the acclaim that a lot of illustrators do. I'm on social media. That's the only difference, really. Um, and I've been to events where people like have stopped me and said like, "Oh, you're Mark Hoffman," and I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, I guess so." Uh, and yet, at the time, it made me feel like, "Oh, wow, someone really even knows who I am outside of my family." But I know that at some point down the line, I'm not going to be that name anymore, or people aren't going to care, or I'm going to be outdated, or whatever it may be. Uh, and hopefully, I have solved all the like emotional issues, the
mm.
psychology that goes with that by that point. But I always like whenever I think of those kind of situations, it's always me looking at it in a negative light, and I need to wrap my head around. Oh,
So here's where I disagree, right?
okay, go
Like
for it.
I think that like my goal is to do these things that go down in history. I was fortunate enough, um, you know, did Crown. That book will always be a thing.
Yep.
It like it is history, right? That's great. But there are other ways in which I'd like to be remembered. And I like to think that I still have those goals that I had when I was a teenager, those big, big goals. I like to think that they're still there because they are, right? Those goals are still there. That being said, oh, that's the color. I figured it out. Yay. Like, so sometimes I'm painting and I don't know, like I can't always see what the solution is,
Yeah,
but I
until
just go work on something else, some other part of the work,
and it
and
hits.
then hopefully I'm hoping that thing will pop up, and it just hit me.
Good,
Um,
good.
yeah, we're kind of getting there. Um, so but like this may be the situation. Like let's put it this way. Like I have a goal that I'll be where I want to be in the next couple years, but I'm also prepared to work for the rest of my life if that's what it takes, right?
Yeah.
Because I want to get to a certain place with the work, but that's not the only reason why I do the work. So if nothing ever happens, I did the work. Like they I go, no, my family can have a retrospective show when I pass, right? But the work should be there, one way or the other. Um,
It's no, I like all of this makes sense. I got to just wrap my head around the like I tend to always worry about the like after the moment, after the big win, after the
mm,
like the success, like what comes after. And I always see it as like it's I don't transition to, well, there's going to be another success, there's going to be another thing that that sets me on my right path, and I need to wrap my head around that because I know that there is always something else, but it's just
you know
the
what I think? I
negative
think
Nancy.
like if you okay, so I try to think about people that I feel have done great things in the arts, right? So you look at your people like your Prince, your Michael Jackson, right? And it seems to me like when I look at Prince, he just goes out, he just seems to be making all this great music. If we bought it, that was fine, right? And if we did it, he just kept making more music, right? And then you look at a Michael Jackson, he seemed that he was always trying to do better than Thriller, right?
Yep.
And and I don't know, it seems like that was the less happy path to take, if
Yep.
that makes
Yep.
sense. Yeah,
Yep.
so
The Prince thing is proven by all the like, what? How many? He had like some crazy amount of albums worth of music when he
he
passed away.
was
That no
just
one.
making music because he loved to make it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I feel like that's
That's
the way to
cool.
be. Do I
Yeah.
want everybody to see this music? Absolutely. But is it going to be made one way or the other? Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Like I want everybody to see these paintings, but they're going to get made one way or the other,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's the positive. That's the positive light. I need to do that more often. I see there is a question in the comments here. I want to make sure that I get
Sure.
to. Um, comes from well, there's a couple of them. So let me get to these. Let me just. Oh, my wife was wondering real quick, what brand of paint you are using. Like, do you have a specific brand that you love?
Most of them are Winsor Newton, the
Okay.
professional level Winsor Newton. I feel like it's either the bottom of the top or the top of the bottom, if that makes sense. So it's not quite up there like with your old Hollands
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and your Vasaris, but I think it's a nice meeting between like quality and price.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. That's the same thing for a lot of the paints that I get. It's like there's a threshold that you got, a gray area that you got to live in for quality.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so Bob Tebow, who is a friend, writes, I love the contrast in styles and talk about aesthetic and talk about entertaining new directions and styles and subject matter. Um, the but Here's the questions. Okay, what dimensions are those original artworks used for in books? So like, we'll talk about yours and I can talk about mine, but are there any colors or painting techniques you try to avoid for books because of technical or printing constraints? That's a great question. um,
So if you look at these super dark areas here that have a lot of oil in them, sometimes they do not look so awesome when you print them.
yeah,
So I have been working on lightening my dark areas so that they don't feel so heavy because I don't necessarily like the way they come out. It all depends. It depends on the publisher, But there have been a couple times where I'm like, man, I don't know if I love the way that is printed, So I'll try to lighten those areas.
yeah,
And
no,
also sometimes they pick up dust and lint that I don't like. And then you have to, you end up doing a lot of working on those areas in Photoshop and stuff like that. And if I could just paint them a little differently, they would certainly save me some time.
The rule of thumb that I always stick to is it's about 10% darker in print, roughly.
Yeah, yeah,
And so you have
yep,
to, if you're doing a painting for in person, it may look lovely, but it's it's a question of whether you want to do the lighten it in the actual material, or you want to lighten it digitally after the fact, and
yeah, yeah.
which one's the preferred method. And it really just depends on the person. How big? I mean, your books are. I'm looking at like the Jesse Owens one here. I'm assuming this is, if I do the math correctly, about a 10 by 10, maybe a 11 by
Yeah,
11.
that's a big painting. It's like
Let's see. What are we
it's
looking
almost like like 70 something inches wide.
at? Ooh,
Um yeah, yeah. And but generally my single pages are 20 by 15, and my double pages are 20, was it is that 20 by 30?
30. Yeah.
And but I do have some that I've really gone in on, and I have a couple like 30 by 40 illustrations, like the closing page of just like Jesse Owens, and a lot of the work in Letter Buck is really large. Um, so I like to work bigger. I feel like there's more freedom, there's more room. I can use bigger brushes. I can paint with my whole arm, which is the way
Prefer.
that I prefer.
Yeah.
Sorry, my smart speaker's talking to us. Um, I don't like that it's probably listening to me, so I've never set it up all the way. And it every once in a while, it's like, "Hey, buddy,
Yeah.
you should set me up, and I can
There's,
spy on you." And I'm like, "Nah, I'm all right."
as long as it's not answering the questions that I'm asking, then we're in good shape. I was in a meeting at school the other day, and it answered a question that was asked in the meeting,
Oh
uh,
wow,
and like specific answer, and we were all very, very disturbed by
I
that.
wanted to ask you, where do you teach?
So I teach at a school called Montserrat College of Art. We're a tiny little art college in
Okay,
Beverly, Mass. Like art,
okay,
you went to SVA, you that kind of
hmm
scale. We have right now, I think, about 220 students total.
okay,
So
okay,
we're tiny, but it's also like everybody knows everybody. It's a
hmm
real sort of like family vibe there. But we're not in the big city, so it's there's some challenges that go along with that. But um, it's a cute little school, um, and it's not siloed of any factor, like we were talking about that, or I mentioned that idea of like graphic design for illustrators. No, we just have graphic design, and you take it
That's
with graphic
awesome.
designers if you want it. Okay, so here's another question that was in here, which I think. Oh, here it is. What advice would you give to an artist who has no process or goals to creating? So someone who's sort of starting out, doesn't really know where they need to put their
I would say make a schedule, be accountable to it. The whole idea that, because everybody has it in their mind that, this is art. I'm gonna just do it when I want, feel like doing it, and I'm gonna feel inspired, and then I'm like, nah, you gotta get up and you gotta do it every day, whether you feel like it, especially if you want to make a living at it. Like,
yeah,
the publishers don't care that you're not feeling particularly inspired, you know.
that's a
You have to, you've signed a contract, right? You have to do the work.
yeah,
And so I tell people, like, any other job, you would just get up and you would go do it. You wouldn't have to feel like, this lightning bolt of inspiration. I worked at a pizza joint when I was in high school, and I never felt particularly inspired, to go bust the tables, right? But that's what I was getting paid to do, and I showed up when I was on the schedule and I did it. So I don't. I think that if you would do something, if you would make sure that you would show up to do something that you might consider mundane, right? Um, if someone else asks you to, well, then you can certainly do it for this thing that you say that you love. And if you do it on a schedule, you'll have an easier time because what do they say? They say routine will be there for you when inspiration is not. You'll just feel
Yeah.
weird that you're not making work, you know?
I would be more concerned, honestly, for you if you actually were inspired to go bust tables. Like,
You
man,
know, like I
I
tell
got
people all the time, I'm like, yo, if you were flipping burgers, you would just get up and go flip your burgers because the boss
yeah,
wanted you there. But
yeah.
somehow, because you're making paintings, you can't make it into the studio. And I understand that sometimes you're tired, and conversely, like, yeah, sure, you might need a break. I get it, but but you got to be at least as dedicated to your thing as you are to the thing that's everybody else's thing. You know.
I mean, one of the things I always state is it's a job. But
It
it
is.
technically
It
is
is.
a job, and if you
Yes.
treat it like a job, then you will get reward, you will get paid, etc. But if it's too frivolous and you treat it like it's some sort of like hobby, or that it doesn't matter if you get stuff done or whatever it may be, then yeah, you're not gonna reap the rewards that come with it. And so, as much as it sucks, if you have a headache, tough luck. You still have to
Yeah.
get the
Yeah.
job done. And you're right
Yep.
that the you know art directors and editors have some leeway in deadlines and things of the sort, but
Hmm.
not to the point where you can just sleep in every single day and go, well, I didn't
Yeah.
feel like it today. That's not going to fly in those situations. And so, uh,
Hmm.
you need to you need to uh, get on the horse
And
and
you know what
ride.
I would say too to young people also, like, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I don't
No,
want
go
to
ahead.
forget. Um. Oh my God, it's almost gone. See, thought's gone. Um. We were talking about scheduling, right? Oh, okay. So check this out. You may be one of those people that, as my friend Jerry says, can wizard out their work at the last minute, and it always works out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but there's gonna become a point if something's gonna happen, right? You might, there might be a death in the family. You might, maybe you got two kids. Maybe your mom is gonna, just you don't know what's gonna be happening, right? And so if these habits are not necessarily for now, when you are young and healthy and full of vim and vigor, right? The good habits are there for when life gets hard, you know? And 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 I'm letting people know that like I've been a last minute guy for a lot of my life. And now it's hard at 52. So so just get the good habits now and
So were
use
you
your energy doing, making great things instead of making great things at the last minute. You could just make more great things, right? So like,
Were
so
you one of those
yeah, and
artists in school
uh,
who put up their paintings wet?
all the time, all the time.
Sure.
Like I would always be motivated. Like the deadline motivated me. But now you have to be, and I'm not, and I want to be very clear. Like I was focused as heck in school. Like I was not out here. I didn't party. I didn't. There was no spring break. There was no vacations. Like I was focused. Okay,
Yeah.
so like but I think I could have finished things sooner, if that makes sense. I was always working on things, but working and finishing are two different things, and I think I could have finished things sooner and been better at you know like there's probably some things I could have wrapped up sooner, and then I would have had more done you know in a lifetime, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
just that idea of uh, hunker down, and it's.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that like it makes it sound like I'm always like on the ball and whatnot. Like there's days where I don't get anything done, and there's days where stuff happens. But when you need to, you have to be able to pull the rabbit out of the hat on those days where
Hmm.
you really don't want to work and you really don't want to do these things, and you just have to. You have to know how to do that on a
Yeah.
whim.
Yeah.
and not just be stuck going, well, I've never had to sit down and work hard, or never had to meet a deadline because I've always given myself the freedom. It's one of those things where this is me probably generalizing here again, but it is a little bit of a different mindset of an illustrator versus a painter, in the sense
Hmm.
we have, it's not always for us, it's for
No.
someone. And
Yes,
when,
and they need it, and like and sometimes there's a point like you used to be, you would be able to be like, well, look at this, like it's freaking stunning, right? And that's
yeah,
what you wanted, and it's stunning. But by the same token, there are other people out here that the work will be stunning, and it'll be there 3 months earlier. So it just is what it is. You can do both. You can do both,
yeah,
and you don't have to be, you don't have to be a diva. And
yeah,
so,
true love.
we are. You don't know what happens. Like when my father was sick, like gosh, he passed, and I'm looking at his funeral thing. He passed in like June of 23, and you don't realize, like I'm still like digging out of the hole that was caused by running up and down the highway to see him. Then just like dealing with the grief. It's a lot, and you don't necessarily realize that and so it's in times like this that I feel like if I had, and I work hard, right? But I feel like if my habits were a little stronger, I'd be better off. And I want to be very clear because I don't want to be out here having people think that I'm bad at my job. I'm really good at my job. But I look back, and because I'm an artist, because we come up in that world of critique, I'm like, oh, that's how I could have been better.
Yeah,
And some things you just got to go through. You got to go through them. You got to grow up. But you got to live them in life. But hopefully maybe there's somebody listening that could just hear it and not live it. You know what I mean? Like so.
so let me pose a question to you then, and maybe it's a question that's sort of already answered in a way, but what aren't you good at? What's like, we, and I
Oh,
don't mean it in the sense of like, oh man, you've been saying you're good at everything, but the idea of like, everybody looks at those who are in an industry that they want to break into and go, oh man, this person really knows how to do it. They understand everything, and they got it all wrapped up, etc. But behind the scenes, you and I and
I'll
everybody
tell
else.
you what I'd like to. I can tell you what
Yeah.
I'd like to be better at. I
Okay.
would like to be better at uh, uh, working on multiple projects at a time. So like if I try to keep 5 things under contract at a time, right?
Okay.
And they should have deadlines that are like far apart. That being said, sometimes while you're waiting on somebody to give you an answer about A, you could be working on B. And but I really love that focus of just working on the one thing, and the switching gears is not necessarily easy. And so like bouncing back and forth between projects, more gracefully is what I'd like to get better at. And I don't think I'm bad at it, but I see other people that are better
Good.
at it, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, like that's the thing too. Like like we're pros, right? We've been at this for a while, so at this point, your bad is it's pretty good. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
that's where we are. Like our bad paintings are good paintings. Um, so like I want to be very clear. Like I'm confident in my ability. I'm really good at what I do, but this is how I'd like to be better. And if you don't have any goals on how you'd like to be better, then why are you here?
So do you, with that idea of multitasking, having multiple projects,
That's
and
good.
being able to divvy up or divide your brain power, or your emotional or physical output, um, right now, are you do you work on like multiple books at the same time
Yeah,
then,
I have
and just
I
struggle,
have
or?
I have two projects going right now. And
Okay.
last month I tried, I think it was three, but I think that for me, two is probably the sweet spot, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was asking in the sense of like some people like work on, and it always surprises me when I hear it, but they're like, yeah, I do about one book a year. And I'm like, how? Like, I need, it's not that, I mean, they probably have a lot more money coming their way, and so they can actually do that. But I tend to try
I
to
work
have,
on one book a year and I have a wife with a steady job and that's how I'm able to do it.
oh, okay, there you
You
go.
know, like that's how it works. We're team. So
What
um
is, what does she do out of
my
curiosity?
wife is marketing director at the Harvey B. Gantt Center for Arts and Culture here in Charlotte.
Oh, okay. I've
Yeah.
heard of it. I've heard of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
little. It's got a name that's out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and the idea of sort of, and I'm gonna ask you to do something that uh, you've already said that you know you're good at painting, etc. But I'm wondering, is there something else that's out there that's like um, tangential to art
Um,
that is your sort of go-to? This is the thing um, that if it wasn't for art, that you'd be doing or that you'd be really good at.
I
That's
might be a veterinarian, right? When I was a kid, I had a whole bunch of like snakes and reptiles and stuff, you know, did the whole Boy
oh
Scouts thing. So reptile study merit badge like really hit me hard. I love that. And the other thing is that I love anything with an engine. So, you know, I ride motorcycles and I thought that I would have like a project car that I was working on, but there's no time. You know, like but I really do like that. I really do like that stuff. And there was a while at which, you know, I started, you know, I had a Jeep, a 90s Jeep, and I started doing stuff to it. And crown hit. So like I'm like, well, there goes that hobby. You know, I
yep.
still get out on my bike. I'm in a club with some friends, you know. We just participated in a toy drive here in Charlotte. That was an awful lot of fun, you know. Yeah, so it doesn't,
What?
and you're right, it doesn't make sense to do anything, to have a hobby where you could break your arms, but
Yeah.
you know, we choose what we choose.
Now,
So
have you fallen off your bike at all?
no, no, I've been very lucky.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's the kicker right there. Is like, yeah, once if hopefully it never ever happens. But does
yeah,
let
yeah.
me let me ask this question then. Is your wife happy about you on a bike?
I don't know that that's her jam, you know. I don't know that every once in a while she'll get on with me and we'll do something, but we don't ride together that often because, you know, something could honestly happen to both of us.
Oh,
And that's,
okay.
you know, that's not what, you know, that's not what we want. You know, we have the kids and so
Yep.
we try not to both risk our lives on the same day, right? So we uh
We're we're at a point now
wow.
where our son is old enough that he can sort of stay home on his
Uh
own and whatnot. And we went out to a bookstore for a book reading the other day that Matt Tavares and
okay.
Denise were doing a book event, and so we went out to it. And our son stayed home. And actually, as I was driving, one of the thoughts I had in my head was like, you know, well, it's both of us in the car. If something were, God forbid, to happen to us, that's both of us. And
That's a really, you know, like so like when my wife goes out of town, like I do not get on the bike. You know, I
yeah,
don't care what's going on, how awesome it sounds, like nope,
yep,
nope.
yep.
Yeah, yeah, because
The,
I don't want anything to happen. And our son is on the spectrum, you know, and so you know I don't want to put him in a position where because he's pretty independent. He can come home from school. He can stay by himself. You know, he can make meals and stuff like that. But I don't want to put him in a position that is unnecessary. wow, this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
not a terrible painting. I'm pretty back up. You don't know, I haven't really gotten a chance to,
To look at.
paint in a while. Yeah, yeah. This
Oh,
is a
good. Good. I'm glad,
yeah. I'm a
glad that you're having the opportunity. Like I have time that I set aside to do it, but I know there's a lot of folks that I have on that just they literally have, you know, project to project to project, and this
hmm
jumping.
And it's
Is,
hard. Like if you think about it, right? You signed a contract. You gave your word, right? And so there'd be a certain like this is one night, but I feel like I wouldn't feel right if I was just out here and the people who are waiting on work, right, look up and like I have this body of paintings, right? And they'd be
yeah,
like, wait a second, like
yeah.
so I haven't really painted anything for me and it's been literal years. But here's the thing, part of what makes the book so good was the fact that I was doing the paintings, right? And so I was having that discussion where I was like, man, I think I got to make it back to figure drawing because I felt like I was just playing the games and never going to practice and never doing any drills. Just
Yeah.
yeah. And there's a reason why there is practice, right? So
So let me ask you this then, because I that idea of not having a chance to go out there and do the work, or to practice or to make work for you versus for someone else, etc. Do you get opportunities to um, socialize and hang out with other artists, even if you're not making? Just that idea of like the
I
social.
just went to, so I've been doing more of that in the last couple years. So I just went to the Society of Illustrators Original Art Show and
Yep.
the American Illustration Party. And so before I used to be like, oh, I don't need to be at those things, but it's just one, they're fun, and two, like this life, I don't know if your students know this or if you feel this, it's kind of a lonely life. You
Yeah.
spend a lot of time in a room by yourself.
Yep. Yep.
And so being able to go to those events is it's fun. And then on top of that, like you're gonna talk to people who are going through what you're going through, or they're dealing with some of the things that you're dealing with. And sometimes, you don't have to figure out the answers. There's somebody who just went through that last year, and they'll just tell you. And
Or they just give
and
you a
so
look like they know. They're like, yeah.
yeah, yeah, you know.
Are you by chance going to Icon this year? Because it's not too far north,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah. I didn't know about Icon, and I talked to who's it, Robin Phillips Pendleton,
Okay.
and she had just told me about Icon. And so my plan is to, I forget where she said it was, but my plan is to go.
It's in
Um,
Baltimore, I think. It's
Baltimore, yeah. So I
or it
should
might
be able to go like being from Fort Washington, Maryland. That's not too far from Baltimore. I can, whenever something happens in Baltimore, I can bring the whole family up. We can all visit my mom, and I can just leave for the day and zip up to Baltimore. So
yeah.
yeah, so
That
I'm looking very forward to it. Yeah.
I'm hoping to get out there this I wanted to go a few years ago and I didn't get the chance, and I'm hoping I can get there this year. Uh
I
and
felt silly
I've
for
never been to
not knowing
Baltimore.
about it. I had no idea it was a thing,
Oh yeah.
until
Oh.
until Robin told me about it. So I'm looking very forward to going,
And it's
you
a
know,
it's a new
and
location every year, so the fact that it's like local for or like somewhat local for you is a nice entry point. You
yeah,
test it
yeah,
out and see if you actually like it before you like venture out to if it's in San Francisco or if it's wherever. Uh,
yeah.
the I missed there was an opportunity where it was like within driving distance for me one year, and I didn't know what it was, and now that I'm now that I do know,
Mm,
disappointed. But it's the goal is to go this year. I need to find out when tickets go on sale so I can start buying and planning because it is a haul down there. But if we
Yeah,
run
I
into each other.
appreciate you mentioning it
Yeah.
because I was looking very forward to it, and then you have the conversation, and then you know,
Yeah.
um, things slip your mind, right?
Yeah.
And so like it had slipped my mind, and so now it is back on my radar. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna write it down.
Yes. You don't forget. And then
Yeah.
I'm hoping I'll have a lot of folks on or that go that have been on Gavin Doodle, and then I'll have to shell out a lot of money at the bar for everybody
Ah,
to on me. But
we should
um,
be buying you drinks, right? We're on your
yeah,
platform.
yeah, yeah. I didn't even think about it that way. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, I've never been, so I'm excited to go to something like that, and it's always been sort of a on my radar. Never had the chance, and I think this summer is the first time. Um, I don't even know where it is planned next year. They won't say that for a while, but uh,
Mm.
I know Baltimore seems like it would be fun. You said you grew up there, or
I grew up in Fort Washington, Maryland, so we're about like 45, 50 minutes from Baltimore. So we used to, party there. Like
yeah,
Baltimore has like a great Baltimore like a music scene like with the Baltimore house music.
yeah,
So so I've partied in Baltimore, been to the Inner Harbor, that kind of thing. So and had fun with the friendly rivalry between the DMV area and the Baltimore peeps, So like, yeah, I like Baltimore. Their music is great.
I don't even know that much about Baltimore besides. Uh, Wait, is Baltimore those ones that has crabs?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's
Yep.
like their
Yep.
like food staple of
Yep.
some sort.
Baltimore, Annapolis. Yep.
Yep.
Like,
There,
yeah, Maryland, baby.
yeah. That's
But
that's my extent of my knowledge at this point. It's like, oh, they eat crabs. That's it. Um, at some point, I'll learn more than that. I don't need to simplify it that far. Uh, but no, if we run into each other, I will definitely buy you a drink or
that'll
whatnot
work.
because I would love to make it down there. So, do you? Speaking of sort of the social outlet and the sort of quiet nature of this, I mean, obviously
Hmm.
you're in a studio with others
Yes.
where you
Yeah.
are.
So at Clearwater, I think there are like 7 or 8 studios. People have, a lot of people work in their different genres, and so it's kind of nice. It works for me because, you're not completely isolated.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. But I like it. So, all right, so what I'm doing now, right, is uh in my quest to not make brand new old paintings, right? I like I like what am I trying to say here? I like Art Deco paintings and I like abstraction. So we're at the point now where the painting's like almost done and I'm starting to work on you know, the uh
The frills,
the yeah,
yeah.
that abstract part of it and some of this stuff will stick around and others parts of it will just go. And but it's fun. And I have a thing for circles and a thing for halos and a thing for swirls. So
In general, like you've had those things for a long time, or just
yeah, yeah, like I love swirls and dots. I love circles and halos. My favorite color is probably this hot pink that's down here.
Ooh,
Um, you know, uh, it's the colors that we like to look at can be a whole lot different from the colors we wear, right?
yep,
Because a
oh, yeah.
lot of people, will think like, oh, well, how, you never wear hot pink. I like probably never would, right? But that doesn't mean that that's not the color that I love to work with, right? So there it is, right?
I like. Is it?
Whew.
I don't know if it's the same color, but opera pink is it shows up in a lot of my work, and I would never ever wear opera pink. Partially because it
Yeah,
doesn't look good on me, but there's other reasons to it too. But uh, I
For
imagine
me,
that.
it's that I love a fuchsia. Like a good fuchsia is a color like that acidy pink. And I thought that I was really good with it. And then you meet like the London Lads and the CG Esperanzas of the world, and you're
Hmm.
like, oh, that's how you use that color. Look at
Yeah.
that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like it's like wow.
Is
So
there are there artists in particular right now that you're um how do I put this that you look at and you go, man, the world needs to know who this person is. Like they don't get their due, whether it be in the fine art or it's in the illustrative world.
wow. Let's see. Like right now. I'm probably I don't know if I think everybody knows who he is, but I think that I'm really enjoying uh everything that CG Esperanza is doing, right? I think he just won a CSK award last year, so it's not like I'm picking some obscure artist, but like
Yeah.
the color, like his color palette and like the way he bends the world to his will when he paints these books, like I really, really, really enjoy it. Um, and and there's an artist here in in North Carolina. She ain't local, but she's in North Carolina. She's based in North Carolina. Named Dare Coulter, and he like does murals, and she has a CSK award, and does all this public art, and like it's just a like just a bundle of freaking talent and ambition. So like that I think that these are like a couple people that are going to be um that are just going to be they're going to be some people are just destined for that thing, and I think that those two certainly are,
Yeah. Matter of time.
yeah, and sorry if I forgot if I forgot anybody else, and I think my favorite, um, like illustrators that I would travel to meet. Like I love. I mean, Leywin Sam. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing your name
Yep. Yep.
correctly. Just like you know, I actually paid to get into a conference just so I could hear her lecture, right? And at this point, I had my Newberry on her. You would just think I'd just be content to like maybe run into her one day, and I was like, nope, can't risk it. You know what I'm saying? Like we're gonna pay this tuition. I gotta make sure that I meet her. Yeah, it's just like just the way. She just does like all these different styles. They're all very equally great. Like it's kind of crazy, like the classical thing and then the digital thing. You're just like, like I feel like I was born with a whole lot of talent, and then you meet someone like her. You're just like, holy moly! Like that's like next level amount of talent. It's kind of
Groundbreaking. Yeah. Like
yeah.
everything they touch turns to kind of.
Say it again.
Is it everything they touch turns to gold? Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
I don't know. I just am awed by the ability to do so many different things well. Because when a lot of times, like if you're doing A and you're working real hard at it, you're not that good. You're not going to be that great at B. You know what I mean? Like, but when I look at, there was a point at which, I was looking, I'm looking at a lot of these books that I had for my kids, right? And then you realize that you're looking at all these books, they all look different. And you're like, man, I think she did all of these books. Like, but you wouldn't think it. You just realize, oh, I really enjoyed that book. But then you look up and you're like, holy smokes, these are all by the same illustrator, and they're all different. Yeah, that to me is a very big deal because I don't, I think that's not necessarily easy to do. All right.
I forget there was an illustrator that it may have been Isabel Arsenault, who I was thinking like, oh, I really like her work, and uh, you know, I I have a lot of books by that she's worked on, and then I was looking through sort of her catalog and realized there was like three other books in my library at home that are all hers that I didn't even track that I had bought way earlier in time.
Hmm.
I didn't even know that that was like, oh, this is her work, or I just didn't put two and two together to realize that um, this artist that I had been following for so long without even, knowing it in some way.
Yeah.
I'm and I've said this on here before, but I'm a huge Christian Robinson fan, and he's one of those
Okay. Okay.
people like aesthetically where I first saw him, of course, was Last Stop on Market Street, which is probably a lot of
Hmm.
people's entry point into his
Yeah.
work. But then after seeing that, I was like, oh, he paints stuff, and then no, he does collage stuff, and no, he does printmaking, and like he's one of those people where just I never know exactly what's going to come out of him, but everything he does
Hmm.
is so well crafted and thought out that I always have been just a huge,
Uh,
huge fan of everything that he sort of touches at this point.
I have another person to add to that list.
Okay, who is it?
Vanessa Brantley Newton,
Oh
right?
yes,
Like,
yeah,
yeah. So like, you look up and you're like, man, she's making nesting dolls. You're like, oh, is this collage? They're like, whoa, is that digital? Like, it's just like, and all equally good, all excellent. She lives here in Charlotte too, and it's just like it's. Oh, that is an aggressive brush right there. Sorry, I'm just
I love
trying to
your
refine the nose, and I'm working with filberts, right? And
yeah.
which is, for people who don't know, it's kind of a combination between a brush that with a flat point and a round point, right? And portrait people, we like a good filbert, but I pulled out a flat to kind of soften something out, and it just took all the paint off the canvas. It
I
was
love I love that you're having these like thoughtful moments, and then all of a sudden this like little moment of artist pops in and changes it to you're like, oh well, I really love and appreciate this artist. Oh, this brush, and
yeah.
like
Look. I
struggle.
tell people like I will like I will talk my way, especially when I'm figure drawing. I'll be talking. I'll be like, that's too big. That's too small. This is, and I'm painting from life. I'll be like, nope, that's cooler. Nope, like, I'll say the thing so that I really, really internalize it, and I try to say it quietly. And if I'm in a room full of people, that is just really too bad for them. I got to get to this place. Um, you know, but excuse me, but yeah, like I really think that like that little bit of dialogue that you can have with yourself is helpful.
Yes,
Uh,
I I say this little guy over here and this little guy over there all the time. Like I'm gonna move this little
hmm.
guy, and I'm not sure why it's always a little guy, but like maybe it's some like holdover from what was it, teeny
It
little
sounds
super
like Bob
guy from
Ross.
what?
Like it sounds like Bob Ross.
Oh, I'm thinking the teeny little super guy from Sesame Street,
Oh, okay.
the teeny little super guy, where he was on
Yeah,
the
I
cover
remember.
or whatever. But there's always me talking and making noises, and when I do demos in
Hmm.
school, there's lots of but little like words or phrases that pop out, and they always
Yeah,
sound crazy.
yeah.
And so um, that's the downside to working in a studio is do the other people can they hear you actually doing all of this?
Um, you know, uh, I will do a lot of overnighters, so like I generally can make noise. Like, right about now, I don't know, the guy above me, I'm on the lower level. He may well be in here, but I'll just go and take a look outside and see if I see his car, or, walk out and see if I can see the light on in the studio. And if not, because just because of where I am in the building, like this is an old like water treatment plant, right? And so the interesting thing is that dep depending on who's there, you can make an awful lot of noise. It's it's um it's kind of crazy, but like sometimes you can make a ton of noise, and then other times. And then other times, uh, you know, I don't know how to explain it. So for instance, I can't hear anything my upstairs neighbor is doing, right?
Yeah.
In my studio, but oddly enough, there's a spot like right outside my door where if she's on the phone, I can hear like absolutely everything because it's like an old, weird building, and the sound just bounces around in these odd ways, and so like you never know uh what
When or
people
how
are. Yeah,
you're.
you never know. So it all depends on where you are in the building and what someone else is doing and what door is open. And it is a very odd building in that way.
Now, before you said that your daughter was trying to get by or something, right? Was
Oh,
that
my son
oh, you
Gabriel
had
is
son?
here. Yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say, is did you bring your son to the studio then? Because I was for some reason in my mind
yeah,
I forgot that we were at a separate studio and not like in your house or.
yeah. So my house is like 30 minutes away in Charlotte, and so yeah, Gabriel is here. Um, yeah, Gabriel is here, and our dog Mario Kart is here.
Your dog is
Um,
named Mario Kart.
Yeah, the kid's named him Mario Kart. He is a 10-week-old Rottweiler puppy.
Oh,
Yeah,
cute.
so he is brand new. He comes to work with me every day. He drives me nuts at this point, but we love him,
Nuts because
because
it's just a puppy. And
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it
yeah.
was funny. I take him everywhere, right, at this point. So like one of my friends were like, "You take him to the grocery store?" I didn't think you were allowed to take dogs to the grocery store. I was like, rules don't apply to him. He's super cute, right? Like maybe in a few weeks they're gonna start being like, "Sir," but right now, like the
Yeah.
rules do not apply to Mario Kart James. He goes wherever the heck he wants to, right?
Oh,
So.
wait, how
Uh,
old is he? What'd you say? It was 8 weeks?
Uh, 10 weeks.
10 weeks. 10 weeks.
10. No,
Yeah.
no, he's at 12 now. He's at 12 weeks now. Yeah, he's at
Okay.
12 weeks now. Yeah,
That's
so
still that's a very cute age.
yeah,
Any dog, no matter how big they're gonna get, no matter how
yeah.
crazy they're gonna get, that's a cute age. Oh, I just totally missed a bunch of questions here. Let me make sure I got.
Okay, yeah, let's get him.
Yeah, sorry, I get sidetracked and talking and forget. So, da, da, da. I think we might have already gotten to this. Brophy SF says, Gordon, in terms of art history, who are your biggest 20th century artist influences? You mentioned Art
Uh,
Deco. Is Edward Hopper one?
I like Edward Hopper. I like the simplicity. Uh, that's my high school friend. What's up, Mike? Like,
Oh, okay.
um, yeah, like I like it. I like Edward Hopper. Oddly enough, now, like, I'm looking at a lot of abstract art, a bunch of stuff that's not stuff that I do. So I'm really like I try to look at anything that's fashion related or I just oh gosh, what did I just I love Rocco's. I love Gerhard Richter's. I'm always fascinated by Richter
Mm,
because he just always stays at that the tippy top of the fine art world as far as like
yeah.
what his work goes for and everything. So yeah, but I spend an awful lot of time working on, looking at things that were very much exactly what I did, right? And now I'm trying to put different things into my brain. And so I spend a lot of time looking at things that have absolutely nothing to do with what I do. And so that I can, so that I can learn things and a lot of things and what am I trying to say? So I can learn things that I didn't learn in college, so that I can be exposed to things that I wasn't exposed to in high school or college, and I'm just trying to learn more about the art and come up with my own visual language, which is going to take more of me seeing and experiencing different things.
Yeah. Is there an artist that you think we'd be surprised by? Like, I would never think that Gordon would like this artist in particular?
I'm starting to like any artist where they have a visual language that goes beyond the one thing that they do. So I hope I don't know if anybody'd be surprised that I like him, but and I hope that I pronounce his name correctly because I've never heard it said. But there's an African artist named Victor. I think his last name is IPOC. Um, but
Oh yeah.
yeah, but I just love like he's got this visual language, and it is just it's just like when you see it on a sweatshirt or on the walls of the was it I think he's at the Phillips collection in DC, or if you see it on a ginormous public sculpture, like it's him, and he's got this aesthetic, and he just lives in it, and I like that. I like that. And you guys, you see kind of what I'm working on here, and there is, that is me working on my aesthetic. And right now, this is this working? Probably not. But we keep moving and we
Plugging
keep trying
away.
to
Yeah.
learn and grow.
No, that's I've never heard his name said out loud either, and I'm trying to like I don't know if it's accurate or not, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Um,
Yeah.
so where was that other question? There was another one that I saw. Uh, maybe I missed it. Okay. Oh, someone. Oh, did I miss something here? I'm like trying to track something on these questions, and I think I may have missed
Mhm.
it altogether. It doesn't really matter. Um, okay, so now that you've been in this kidlit realm for a while, um, do you see uh, opportunity to sort of push the boundaries of uh, kidlit in a certain way? Like we were talking earlier about that idea of art school and the change or the need for diverse history and things being taught in it. And I'm wondering, in the sense of like kidlit, it's been going for I don't even know how many years, but a lot of years, and
Mhm.
we have this opportunity as artists now to come back and sort of like change it for the better or do something with it that um,
I
we
want to do like super big, ambitious things. I don't know, you know, um, I don't know if it changes it for the better, but I think that one of the things that made Crown good is like I don't think that it was written or illustrated like on grade level, if that makes sense. So,
yeah,
like if you look, you know, I think there's a line where Derek says something about like I might get a 97 on that math test or whatever. But I think the kid is probably in elementary school and you're probably getting just A's and B's and C's, but that doesn't matter. Like it's aspirational. And then some people might say that maybe the artwork is a little too uh kind of maybe too adult, right? In terms of the style, right? Not in terms of the subject matter, but in terms of the
yeah,
style. And I think that what that proves is that kids, like whatever you put in front of kids, they tend to figure out how to like level up, right? And one of the examples that I like to tell people is years ago, there was a big Sergeant retrospective in New York, right? And so, that was my thing. And I was in town with my family. Um, and we went the first day before we hit the Sergeant show, we went to the MoMA and they had the toy exhibit was up, right? So
Okay.
the whole thing is about toys. And we just knew the kids would like that, right? And they liked the Sergeant portraits better than the toy exhibit at the MoMA.
Huh.
And
Okay.
that we I was just like, that's nuts. Like, why would they like that better? But they absolutely did. And it was, I think it was the thing that was not designed for them, right? And I'm not saying that Crown wasn't designed for children, because it was, but it did not assume that they would not want a certain thing, or they would not be interested in a certain thing.
Yeah.
We just gave it to them and let them enjoy it, and there
I
was
didn't figure
no
out.
part of it that was kind of brought down to their level, you know.
No, that makes it. I mean, the idea of it's not dumbing something down and
No,
there's
no.
assumption being made that the kid won't get this. It was just, um, you know, true to them, or that they understood it on a different level, uh,
Hmm.
and potentially what was the the original intention. The that idea of yeah, the going and seeing a show that um, like a sergeant show. Yeah, I would think that most kids wouldn't be like, yeah, this is my cup of tea that I absolutely love, because it is sort of like uh, very, I don't want to say heady, but uh, it's not cartoony. It's not, it's not
Yeah,
in a normal way. So I'm impressed that your kids love that one. Were
but
they?
they, like I think what it is like big and breathtaking, and there's a certain spectacle to it, because of just the sheer scale of the work. And there we go. And I think that that's a definite thing. And I was just, I was super proud that they liked it, because
Yeah.
that's what I liked. But, when you take your kids to see something and it's literally for work, and you want to make sure you get everything out of it, because, you know, um, like the idea that they did like it, was just great for me, because if they had been upset and we had to leave early, it would have been the way it was. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
so
No,
um,
the payoff is that much higher because
yeah.
because it's in your realm, and like you get them to.
We There was something that and they weren't big. They weren't big at that point either. And so, like, that, it was fun that we got to enjoy that together. And I think that I noticed that, like, my kids love Broadway, and my mom and my wife have been taking them to Broadway plays since they were like little, and
Good.
they didn't have to, no one, they never had to, you know, uh, just go see the kids shows. And they tend to take in the things that are appropriate for them to take in, and then the other things, you know, they get different things out of these shows. Especially like these class shows, they get different things out of them at different ages. That's what I was trying to say.
Do you do they how old is your daughter? Is still in college or out of college?
Yeah, yeah, she's still in college, so she's 20, and my son is 16.
16. Okay. I was gonna say, did they, age wise, when you were sort of starting out in the kidlit industry, were they of age to sort of understand what was going on, or was that sort of
Yeah,
like,
my daughter especially, she was in middle school when Crown hit, so it
okay,
was a big deal. She was out of school that was, I think, K through 8. So, that was pretty cool. Like, the book was in, what's that called? Was it
scholastic?
Scholastics? Yeah, yeah, and it came to the school, and I showed up and I signed the book for for anybody who chose to buy it. So that was
Then what was
that was fun.
oh yeah, Daddy came to school and all the kids like me now. That's the um, and then thinking about sort of like now that you've been, we've talked a little bit about sort of the fine art. We talked about the kidlit side, but I'm wondering now that you've been in the industry of kidlit for a while,
Hmm.
your perception of fine art, like, do you think that you're going back to the fine art world in some capacity? Do you think that you've actually like have a different opinion of how you approach fine art because of the illustrative side?
I think that I don't. I'm hoping that when I get there, that there's gonna be room. I feel like I spent a lot of time accumulating a certain degree of skill, and I feel like the skill is not necessarily it's the skill is not that important, and that is something that talking to um a couple of my friends that are doing both. They let me know, like, yes, that's great. You drew it really well. Nobody cares. You know what I mean? Like, so, and these are people with a lot of skill, that are in both worlds. And so it's that type of thing where I like the idea of craft, and I like the idea of putting time and energy into something, and not just cranking it out, and not just telling, like having it be really meaningful instead of just telling people it's really meaningful, right?
Yeah.
And so, we will see, um, how that goes over, as we go through, as I make my way, I guess, back into that world. We'll see how it goes over.
Do you um do you I mean, to me, you said that idea of like we don't know whether people like I know there's a lot of people that appreciate the effort made to make work that is like bigger and more what do I say, robust than your
Hmm.
everyday pictures that show up. But who knows about buying audience? That's another sort of
Yeah, yeah.
challenge that shows up. But um, with thinking about sort of future projects, have you mentioned a graphic novel, but have you written anything at this point? Are you
I
exploring
did. I
that?
wrote a book. I wrote a book, and I'm currently working on illustrating it. It
Okay.
doesn't have a schedule. It does have a contract, but it doesn't have a schedule right now.
Okay.
But you know, so this is taking a little bit longer. The writing is I think the funny thing is this is a book. I think the writing is great, and I want to do something different with the illustration, and I think that now the illustration is the thing that makes the work, and I find that ironic, but it is what it is, and that's how, honestly, people, when you push yourself, right, to do things that are different, to do things that are new, to be excellent, sometimes it's going to work out, and other times you're going to have to go give it another swing, so I don't mind that process. I don't mind it at all. As a matter of fact, I do not, it's not necessarily what I want, but when it comes up, right, when it comes up that I need to take a step back or reevaluate something, I don't mind it, because if I were good at everything, some things you're going to be instantly good at, and other things are going to take a little bit of work. So I think that that's fine.
So is that the one that's the sports one that you were talking about before?
No, no, the sports one is another Derek Barnes
Oh,
project. That's coming pretty soon. That's coming pretty soon.
you get to work with Derek. Will this be your third one with Derek?
Yeah, yeah. As a matter of fact, I have two with Derek coming in close succession.
Okay,
So that would be the third and fourth, I think.
there you go. Okay, yeah, I was trying to do the
Yeah.
math. I knew there was one at least sitting out there. Uh,
Hmm.
I'm trying to remember what's the name of the second book that you did with him. It's
I Am Every Good Thing.
thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was a New York Times bestseller and a Kirkus Prize winner.
Ooh, Kirkus Jerkus.
Yeah, yeah, yep,
Um,
yep.
do you pay
So
attention to?
far, I'm the only illustrator with two.
Wait. Oh, really?
So,
Really?
hmm
Oh, nice. Do you pay
yeah.
some of the reviews, or you kind of just tune those out?
Oh, I look at the reviews. So it's funny. You can learn from the reviews, right? Like the book I did, the Roy Campanella book, right? Um, I remember I did that book, and Roy, he ages like like I think when he shows up in the book, he is like, gosh, how old was he when in the beginning of the book? He just I think he's like 9, and then he goes like all the way to like 60 something. And they were I still remember to this day the person was like the main character doesn't have a consistent look. And I was like, and I remember doing that book. It was such a challenge. I had never done a historical book where I had to do color illustrations from black and white reference, right?
Yeah.
I always take my own reference first, right? So I own it, and so that people can't say that I stole it from them.
Yep.
So I take
Yep.
my own reference, and then but this was a history book, right? So I didn't get a chance to do that. I had to I like that. Sorry, we're working and talking. Um, so I had to this is the very first time that I was able to yeah, that's working.
Or that you have
Um,
is pre-existing.
yeah, I had to use this pre-existing reference. Thank you. And
Yeah.
I had to use this pre-existing reference, and I had to and this is the very first time that I was deciding what the colors were going to be in a general scheme, right? And that was kind of scary. And but you can go you go to the library, you start going through your golden age books, and you see how people did it. Frankly, James Gurney has his 2 books out that are great with that. Like um,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. So
I didn't.
so um,
Are you a Gurney fan?
I I don't know that I'm a Gurney fan, but I'm a Gurney. I don't know how you say it. Like I'm a Gurney admirer. Does that make
There
sense?
you go. I got you.
Like
Yeah.
yeah, like he has so much. His his
Like you're not
like
out here.
when you see those demonstrations, right, and you see how he creates that world, that stuff is very, very useful. And a lot of that is like old school illustration stuff that, you may not get these days. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
those books are so reasonably priced. I tell a lot of young illustrators, I'm like, yeah, you need this book.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're working digitally, it's just so much. Um, there's a lot of things that I intuitively know because I've done a lot of painting from life. But for him to be like, well, sometimes you don't realize what you know and how it affects what you're doing. If that makes Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No.
so like to have a book where someone else has just written it down is really incredible. Like it's super duper useful. You
He's one.
know,
He's one of those people who just like it's it all when you watch him work or when you hear what he has to say, it clicks really easily.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I don't know if it's like we have a teacher at the school that I'm at that used to or we did have a teacher that used to use Gurney all the time as sort of a reference point for students because it was just
hmm
entry point to some of those ideas.
Yeah, yeah.
Of
And I would assume you probably had a lot of kids that grew up on his stuff, you
yes,
know?
yeah,
Yeah, and so it's just like, all right, well, this is how it was done.
yep, yeah. For those that don't know, we're talking about the guy who did Dinotopia. I'm trying to think what else he's done, but he's really known as sort of a plein air painter, and works on these oftentimes really small scale. You can
Yeah,
see its actual pieces. You're like, man, those things are tiny, but does some really great study work and gives a great reference point for students who are trying to learn um, how to become a sort of illustrator and to see and to understand color and light and all the things that go into it. So, um,
I think that that's what the book is called, right? Isn't it Light and Color or Color and Light?
yeah, I think it's called.
Yeah,
If I remember correctly.
yeah, yeah.
It, it's a good go-to, but um, it's interesting. The you know the my my understanding of all of this stuff. I'm not an expert in art history. I'm not an expert in illustration history of any sort. Um, but it is interesting to me how many illustrators have the same sort of like reference points where like, oh, that's a good, like the Loomis drawing books, I'm assuming
Hmm.
those, and like there's just stuff that everybody's like, oh, this is the thing. They get it. This is how you get your hands on this thing. It's going to get you ahead of the curve.
Or, well, I think my favorite painting book is Richard Schmid's Alla Prima, Everything I Know About Painting.
I've
That
heard,
book is,
I've read through it, but I know people that swear by that one.
yeah, that book is bonkers. It's crazy expensive. I don't know why they don't just keep printing it, but yeah, that book is amazing.
Do you, since you said you don't get a lot of time to get out there and work on your own sort of stuff on the regular,
Mm-mm.
um, is it is it primarily, and I don't know if this is the standard for most people, but I have the same thing where it's like there's a lot of times there's just life gets in the way too. Some of it is just
Yeah,
living, a
yeah.
job or that
I
sort of
mean,
stuff.
you have kids, you have, you know, um, it's very, you don't realize it when when you go into this, that you don't think about what it's like, to be you, right? And you don't realize that, when you decide that, like, oh, I'm gonna have kids, like, you don't realize that you already have kids. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
it's like this thing that you've been trying to do your whole life. You don't realize it, but like, so it's almost like you have, like, I have three kids. I have this other thing that I'm also nurturing, but and I've been nurturing it since I can remember. I was like 10 years old. I remember being in class, drawing superheroes and trying to figure out who's was the best, that kind of thing. And you don't necessarily realize, when you don't realize how much time and energy, that your artwork takes up until you have a family and they
Yeah.
need you too. It's a
Something
thing.
else requires your attention.
Yes,
That's when it,
yes. And they need it. Like, there's no, like, oh, well, they can wait. You know what I mean? Like, that's not how it goes. They didn't ask for this. You know what I mean? Like,
uh,
you made them, right? They didn't ask for this. And
are they,
so,
speaking of that, is your family relatively supportive of, I mean, I can't
I
imagine
think so. I think so.
like,
Like,
do this, dad,
you
but
know, like, yeah, I think so. I think so.
do
Yeah.
they
My wife has been there for a lot of times. So,
yeah,
you know,
been through the
and
struggle with you.
she should be, like, and it's working out, like, at this point. So, like, because you tell people who you are, and then sometimes, it's not always happening fast. So, like, I'm just glad she, was able to, see it. I'm glad it happened on some level. You know what I mean? Like, I can't say, we're not rich, but at least, I got some plaques and medals to prove that, I'm decent at this.
Yeah,
Um,
the happiness is
yeah,
part. That's the
Yeah, yep.
we have this one of the challenges that we're having at school right now is the idea of trying to express to people, obviously everybody wants to have a job when they get out there and whatnot, but then
Hmm.
in school that we use accreditation, like we get, there's the government looks at us and goes, well, what kind of jobs are people getting? How much money are they making? And blah, 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 blah. And it's hard to quantify the idea of happiness. And maybe it's not that everybody needs to be the richest, wealthiest, especially in our area. Like when you compare the money that people get from MIT when they graduate for their first
Yeah,
job
yeah,
versus an artist, we're never going to compete on that level. But at the same time, I think the happiness of an artist, uh,
yeah. I don't say never because people do these art things, and they hit it big.
yeah, true, true. My
Yeah, so
not seeing those paydays yet. That's the
yeah, yeah. You don't know. It's you know, like you know, I was in the same Boy Scout troop with Jeff Kinney. Like we went
yeah.
to elementary school together. He's just a couple years older than me. We didn't know each other at that point, but like at a certain point, we were able to have conversation. It turns out like he was friends with all my friends' older brothers. So like, I'm like, it's definitely possible. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
um, yeah.
Do you
So
do you have long term like uh plans? Like do you obviously painting is the like the goal is you just want to keep things of the sort. But are there like transitions in career that you ever want to make down the line that
I
like
think
equivalent of
by the
writing your own book?
time, I think that my biggest goal is that I want to have paintings in the like in the Med, in the MoMA, that kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
yeah, like I'm like I really feel like I can do it. That's my big goal is having work in those big institutions.
I don't even
And
know what's required for that. Like is it
oh, I don't know. I have no idea. I think I have to, meet people, be more visible, and then, I have find the time to make the work. Well, not even find the time. The time is there, right? Like manage the time
yeah.
so that
Prioritize.
manage the time to make the work. Um,
I just like I understand how to get an agent and I understand how to get, into certain galleries and things of the sort, but that's one of those ones where like fundamentally I don't understand what the like, what the process is. It someone just has to like your work and then they go, we're going to buy a piece and put it in.
don't
Or is
get
it
me to lying. That is for me to work out in the
yeah,
next, in the next um in the next few years.
yep. That's
Yeah.
down the line it will bear
Hmm.
some
That
sort
is
of
one of the reasons why. Sorry about that. My son is taking the puppy out. Um, that is one of those things that I'm gonna have to work on and figure out, and that's fine. You don't have to know. You don't have to know absolutely everything right
yeah.
away. But the big thing is gonna be making the work. And I think another thing too is you know, for younger artists and even people that are our age, have the courage to invest in your work because a lot of times, we will we will decide, oh, boy, we need a car, we'll go buy that car, right?
Yep.
And then if if you're looking around and you're like, oh well, I should I don't know how to say this, but it's harder to be like, okay, I need a new computer, or I'm going to do this body of work, so I need to spend however X amount of money on canvases, or I need to spend. You see what I'm saying? Like a lot of times, uh, we don't necessarily invest in our work, and so that's one of the big things that I did last year. Is I spent a lot of money. I think Cheap Joe's Art Supplies went out of business down here, and I spent like what's a lot of money for me on canvases and paints and just stocking up so that I would be ready as I could be to make this work.
Do you meaning like they were going out of business? You bought a lot of their stock of
Yeah, yeah.
of
I bought big like 7 foot tall wooden boards and a lot of their they had a lot of uh all the oil paints that were on my palette that they were getting rid of. Like I just bought it all. And that's a little scary to watch that money go. But you know, but even if I keep doing books, I'll use those. That's what my palette is, right? I'll use it to the day I die, so it shouldn't be that bad. But once you have these 6 foot panels, these 8 foot panels leaning up against your wall, you're gonna have to make the paintings. So like it's a way of kind of like pushing. I think that we all deal with a certain amount of well, some people don't, but like sometimes, it's easy to stay where you are because you know how it works, right?
Yep.
And so there might be a certain amount of fear um, that comes with going into a different place that you're not familiar with. And hold on one second. Did
Yep.
he go out? Did he? Okay, then come on back in. All right. Okay. Thanks, Gabe. So, go back and close the door. Sorry about that. So, there might be a certain amount of fear that comes with doing something that you haven't done, or trying to get people to see your work in a different way, and that's okay. Like at a certain point, you got to believe, and and that belief, that whole that why not me thing. Why is that? You should. You understand what I'm trying to say. I'm
I
I'm
do.
I'm I'm kind of losing the words, but yeah, if somebody did it right, so why can't you?
I the I mean, investing in your future kind of situation is always, I know, as especially when you're starting out in your career,
Hmm.
it's a little scary to put that money in it, especially when you're looking at your taxes and you're like, well, how much money did I make this year? And am I spending more money to be seen versus um, actually getting seen kind of situation? But I do think
Yeah.
investing and putting the risk in it, like, the mention of like buying giant canvases, like not only is it scary to do that, but then on top of that, you have you have to paint something on them, and if
Yes.
it work out, you know, is that the end of the world? Most likely it's not. Most likely it's just
Hmm.
you paint over it. But I know there's a lot of people that find fear in that moment and go, well, I don't ever want to paint anything on this canvas because, or, struggle to get started because
Look,
they,
let me tell you, when I graduated from school, right, like my parents are supportive. My parents are supportive, right? And so
yeah,
um, I wasn't confident in my painting, and I said, well, I at least could do some black and white work, and I'm not a great painter, but I'm gonna have to find some way to do color. And I asked my parents to buy me a set of oil pastels, and they bought me a 250-piece set of Sennelier chalk pastels. And for those who don't know, those are very nice chalk pastels.
yes,
Back
they
in
are.
1995, that set retailed for like around $850. It's probably, I don't know if it's gone up by now. And then I got them, and I was just terrified of them.
Yep.
Um, didn't really use them. Fiddled with them a little bit, but didn't really use them. And then the first time I actually use them. It was on the Just Like Jesse Owens book, you know? And I called my mom and I said, Mom, I'm gonna use those pastels that you and Dad got me when I graduated. And she said to me, she's like, well, that's very nice, Gordon, because your father and I don't like wasting our money. Right? Like I was like, it was 20 something years ago, you know, but
They've been waiting for that call for their whole life.
yeah, but see that it like as much as I was nervous, right? I was nervous about using them. They would have been happier if I had just done something, anything with them, you know? Instead of me holding on to them because they were so nice and they're so this and they're so that and they were so dear and me not wanting to use them.
Yeah,
So,
I
yeah.
love. That's funny with them. Like, yeah, they've been holding a grudge for a long time.
You know, I don't
They're
think
wow.
so, but I think that my mother definitely, you know, remembered that I hadn't really messed with those pastels. So, sorry, what you hear now is me feeding a puppy as we
No, it's
talk.
fine. That's
Yeah,
fine. I'm happy to listen to puppy talk anytime.
yeah, hop in, buddy. Yeah, so, but yeah, yeah, so like, I should have just dove in, right?
Yep. No, it's
Yeah, so,
there's
so
probably
young people dive in.
yeah, there's probably material sitting around my house that I like have never uh taken advantage of or I bought. I mean, the problem that I have is, and maybe this is sort of more of the risk now is that, and this isn't meant to be a brag of any sort, but like cost of supplies is not as big of an issue now that you're out
Hmm.
of, like, compared to when you're in college or anything of the sort. When you're in
Yeah.
college, like, man, I got to scrape by and I have to really be frugal with what I'm doing. Now that's not an issue, and now the problem is I buy supplies and I don't use them, not because I'm afraid to use them, but purely just because I forgot that I even got them. You
Ah.
know, and I'll be like, oh, I forgot that I bought that color, or I forgot that I have those brushes. Like, I used to go out every time to the store, and I don't buy fancy brushes, but anytime they were on,
Hmm.
I would buy quite a few of those brushes, um, because I was like, oh, I like to change out my brushes periodically just to have a nice
Hmm.
sharp edge or whatever it may be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I'm over and I have this stack of brushes that all have those little plastic tubes on them to keep them nice and clean. And I
Hmm.
haven't touched them in years. So it's there. You can't win no matter what. It's, you find out that you're okay with the material, and then you find out that you're afraid to use it, or then you're afraid to, or you forget that you have it, and back and forth, back and forth. Um, is there, uh, with the writing side, with that aspect of trying to get into writing your own work and things of the sort, or having that under your belt, is there plans to do more in the future? Like, obviously you're working on one right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that I will probably do some more writing. And I think the big thing about the writing is it's going to help me be able to better explain the work that I'm doing, the other work that I'm doing, the fine art work, with, I went to art school, right? And so like I took pretty like relatively, I guess, advanced classes in high school. But when you go off to art school, like, you might go from taking good classes in high school to taking history of opera, for your history class. And I forgot what my science classes were. I took a couple classes at University of Maryland. So when somebody was like, you should write something, I was like, I haven't written anything since, really since like what, freshman, sophomore year of college. Like it just seemed like it was crazy that somebody would ask me to write a thing.
Yeah.
And so I did it. I think that the writing went well, but I didn't have, I should have been probably more confident in it, you know? Like I was
Would
just thinking, I was spending a lot of time focusing on the fact that, I hadn't written anything in a long time. instead of just worried about like what is this good or not, right? And it was. It was good enough to get the contract, so I don't know why I was worried about it. But sometimes that whole thing when you're a perfectionist, you want everything to be the absolute best. You will you'll stop yourself from doing the best you can at that moment in time and just
Yeah.
moving forward.
Yeah. You
So
purposely or subconsciously get in your own way. Is
yeah, yeah,
was
sometimes. So
agent suggested the writing side, or was that
what was
something?
that?
Was it your agent who sort of said like, "Hey, you should write"?
It was a publisher. Yeah, a publisher.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, yep,
The publisher that bought the book, or
yep, yep, yeah.
that's always a
So
sense of like someone likes the idea, and then if they don't like what you actually write at the end, uh, I,
no, no, they liked what I wrote, so I won there. I won there.
yeah.
That is crazy. This dog just ate all that food, and he is done. This is this is my first big dog, and clearly he's growing because like this guy can eat and eat and eat. It's nuts.
I was gonna say
Oh,
that
like
you're gonna
yeah,
food like crazy. You said it was a Rottweiler mix.
he's a no, he's pure Rottweiler.
Oh, pure Rottweiler. Okay. Yeah, he's
Yeah, yeah,
that's a big dog.
yeah. He's
Big
gonna be a big boy.
dog here, and my first thought every time whenever someone says that they have a big dog, the first thought that I have is the amount of cleanup you're gonna have to do out in the yard or wherever.
Yeah,
Like that's
yeah. We do have a big backyard, and we're kind of deciding how much of the backyard is
is
going to be devoted to the
yes,
dog.
yes, got you.
Yeah.
You
But
might not.
In North Carolina last year, the weather was so bad and the mosquitoes were so bad that we didn't spend any time out there anyway. So so I might be happy to give him the yard.
Yeah, you may not have a choice on how much yard is yours
He
versus the
gets.
dog, and
Yeah.
uh, that's gonna
Yeah.
that big of a dog. I mean that Rottweilers get up to be like what 100 something pounds.
Like 110 pounds.
Yeah, that's
So
that's crazy talk. We have two little Chihuahua mixes, and they met
okay.
at about one of them is at 20 pounds and the other one's at 14. And sometimes I look at them and go, man, they're big. But we used to have a 70 pound dog, and so they're tiny by comparison. But just the after having little ones for so long, it's challenging to look at them and not say that they're bigger than what I remember. Um, is this you've had dogs before?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had a boxer bulldog mix,
Mm.
and I grew up with dogs. So
We just saw a boxer sticking out a window today, and I remember when I was in college, I really wanted a boxer dog. They're
they are fun. They're yeah, they are fun.
are
Yeah.
they? Uh, well, I just think of those. Those are big dogs too, but I think of those as dogs that like are kind of lovey-dovey no matter what.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I think I think the best thing about Rascal is that she was very quiet, super mellow, and very, very patient. So, I mentioned that my son is on the spectrum, right? And so he
yeah,
wasn't always gentle. He did his best, but he wasn't always gentle with her. And she was just like very patient with him. And they also have a super high pain threshold, those bully breeds. And
really,
so,
I didn't know that.
yeah, and so it was very difficult for him to do anything to make her uncomfortable. And
Okay,
then on top of that, like the dog, super protective dog. So yeah, there we go.
I had never the pain threshold thing. I mean, it makes sense with the
They
like
do.
used throughout history
Yeah.
and whatnot, but I
Yep.
just never connected the dots there. Um,
Yeah.
no, we've always, yeah, I didn't have dogs all the time through my childhood, but we always had like we did not have tough dogs. Let's put it that.
So
So
growing up, I had a Silky Terrier and a Beagle.
okay,
So yeah, yeah, like regular kind of family dogs, and I wanted like like um a different kind of dog. As an adult, I wanted like a dog that could maybe go jogging with me or hiking or
yeah.
something like that. Um, so that is how we got Rascal.
Wait, Rascal.
Yeah, yeah. So Rascal was our boxer bulldog mix.
Oh, I was.
Yeah, we adopted her, and she passed a couple months ago,
Oh, I'm
and
sorry.
so now we have Mario Kart.
Okay, I thought you were talking about Mario Kart at first, and when you said Rascal,
Yeah,
a second, I could have sworn.
and you hear
Oh,
Mario? Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know what he's asking for. So
It's late at night. He wants to go to bed.
yeah, he's got to drive. He's got to do a drive home. So you know,
He must be adorable at 10 weeks. I don't know, like I can't think of any dog that isn't cute at that.
oh yeah, he's super cute. He is super cute.
Did the whole family go pick him out at the same time, or was it
So,
like
one of my buddies that I'm in the motorcycle club with, he
yeah?
raises Rottweilers, and his dogs have puppies, and
Ah,
so we bought him from my club brother,
gotcha. Wait,
and so
when you say club brother, does that mean that like you have like vets and like
yeah,
patches
exactly,
and stuff?
exactly, yeah. So, my club, it was actually started by a bunch of postal workers, right? Um, and the whole thing is like they all like to ride. Most of them they were all postal workers. Most of them were had also been military, and they realized that they never had anybody to ride with because they all worked weird shifts.
Okay.
And so they
Yep.
started a club, and I fit in because I also work weird hours, and so now clearly we're not all just postal workers, but the club was started by guys that
Yeah.
work for the post office, yeah. And we're a cute, cuddly family club.
But you have like the classic vest with like the patch and stuff on the
Oh
back.
yeah, oh yeah,
That's
yep,
cool. Do you
yep.
walk around and do people like do they go like, oh, I don't want to mess with you kind of situation because of that?
I don't. You know what? This is the thing. Like, you know, uh, people who know the culture, they can tell like what kind of a club you are by what kind of vest you wear, and it's a whole bunch of stuff and protocol stuff I don't feel like getting into. But like we are like we're like a very and like most clubs actually, like we're family oriented.
Yeah.
We like to ride, we like to we like to eat good, that kind of thing, and the really we're a bunch of guys that we're all very different, but the thing that brings us
Is the
together
right.
is the fact that we all like to ride.
There was down the road from us was a I don't even know if they're still there, but a Hell's Angel lives a few doors down on one of the
Uh-huh.
streets. So like every once in a while I'll hear the motorcycle sort of pull out, but it's one of those things where like I when you say like the family oriented, like you can tell all that went through my head is like you have that are like postage stamps on your vest. They're like very
Yeah, our logo is a guy cornering on a sport bike, but he's got the mail bag on.
so there is a male theme to it. That's funny.
Before I had a motorcycle, and then I bought a motorcycle and joined the club. So my cousin was in the club. So like, hi everybody, I'm walking outside. We are taking a break and walking Mario Kart.
Oh,
So so
I was joking about like having postage stuff on it, and then it actually does. It's so funny.
yeah,
Um, what
yeah. So
do you get all the gossip, all the like post office gossip?
I think this is like the neat thing is that because of my job, right? I ship stuff, and so
Yeah.
like I could get advice, and then people, there are things that you learn about the post office, or like, should you really pay for FedEx? Should you really pay for UPS? Right?
Uh,
Like you know like I have people that can tell me that it's kind of fascinating.
I uh I went in and I was shipping artwork somewhere.
There's a lot that goes into getting your package where it's got to go, and I learned that from the guys that I ride with.
I was shipping some artwork somewhere and it had glass, and I put just like fragile on it or something of the
Uh
sort.
huh.
And the guy at the post office said like, no. He said like, is it glass in there? I'm like, yes. He goes, put glass on it. He said, if you put fragile, they don't care. If you put the word glass on it, no one wants to break something. And so
Oh, that's interesting.
I was like, oh, interesting. So if you ever have, that's what they told me. Now they could be just pulling my chain there,
Hmm.
and just they all laugh in the back because I write glass on everything. But as an artist, I was like, oh, that's a nice little trick rather. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
um, let me try to do lettering here, which is always a pain to do.
I think that looks so. Tell me the so this is it's a beaver, and he's building
It's called Stick Stack Stuck, and
uh-huh,
I'm just playing around with like faux covers.
uh-huh.
Recently, trying to play around with like ideas of what I can get away with, and to drum up some ideas that I could start writing. And the idea of a beaver dam that got too big and collapsed on itself.
Ah.
The gist is there's a bunch of beavers that are stuck in there and need help, and so I'm trying to just play around. I've on the Gavin Doodles. I don't do any work that's paid for, and so it's
Hmm.
playing with ideas or things. And so I've been trying to do like because I'm going to be sabbatical here soon, and I need to write. I need to spend my time writing a little bit more, and so I'm just like I don't
Okay.
play with. So um,
So what are you working on? What are you
I
going to be writing?
yeah, I just wrapped up a picture book. I think I did the final edits just this last week, and then I am trying to. I have about 4 or 5 like ideas I need to write out. Some of them have already been written, and I just need to edit. Um,
Hmm.
I have some gallery stuff coming up that I gotta get done
Oh,
that
nice.
put off. I do little tiny things for like small work shows and whatnot,
Hmm.
um, and they always get they play second fiddle until I'm done with my contract work, and then I come
Right.
out. So now it's a matter of this coming month. I basically need to do a couple of pieces for that show, uh,
Hmm.
but nothing big. Like you work on big canvases. Mine are generally about the stuff I work on is like 5 inches by 10 inches max kind of situation.
Hmm.
Little guys.
The reason why I work big is because I spent a little bit of time in Chelsea one New York trip, and I went into I was the name of the gallery is Hauserworth. I went into Hauserworth, that ginormous gallery,
Okay.
and I was like, wow, like these are huge paintings in here, and they don't look big at all, right? Just because of the
Yeah.
size of the room.
Yep.
And so even with me having these 4 by 6 foot boards and these 4 by 8 foot boards, I got to put them side by side because in a space like that, they're not going to look large at all. They're going to look they're going to disappear on the wall.
Well, you also photograph your work, which means that you're not limited by like having to piece it back together or do any sort of like major digital touch up, right?
Yeah, Lord willing, if I did what I want to do, there's not a lot of digital touch up. That being said, the cover for just like Jesse Owens is in 3 pieces. So I had to put it together digitally,
Yeah.
and I just did a book with Carol Boston Weatherford that I sent the work out for it's about Thurgood Marshall called Before He Was Thurgood, and that work is that work is sorry, I'm squeezing out a little citron yellow. Um, that 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 cover is in two pieces, and I shipped it in two pieces, and hopefully they will be able to put it together. And if they can't, they can just send me the files, and I'll pop it together.
Yeah. Why is it in two pieces out of curiosity?
I did the cover. This is actually the second time this has happened for me. I did the cover and I did the front, and I thought that I would like to have it wrap around, but they wanted the whole cover on the front, and so I got to go back. I had to go back and do the
Okay.
back of the cover, you know.
Yeah.
So, and that's the way the Jesse Owens cover was too,
The Jesse
where
Owens different pieces that you had to.
yeah, it's actually on three. It's on three different boards. It's on three different boards. And oddly enough, that book that we always call the Jesse Owens book. It's not just you, right? That
Yeah.
book is about civil rights leader Ambassador Andrew Young. And
Oh yeah.
so it is almost like the thing where we all have our sports heroes, right? And for Ambassador Young, his sports hero, Jesse Owens, and his dad used Jesse Owens running in the Olympics to teach him lessons about things that were going on. And, he was dealing with a lot of the things that our kids are dealing with now. He grew up, there was an office of the Nazi Party on his street. There are all these things that are unfortunately our kids are going back through now. And so that book, I'm really proud of it, and I'm upset that it is in fact so timely.
Yeah, it's relevant again, which is
Yeah, yeah.
the
It
book is
should be
relevant
ancient history,
matter.
but unfortunately, it's not.
Yeah. I mean that is the upside and the downside to some of the subject matters that you've had to deal with is there is a lot of like really poignant things that need to be understood by folks, but also, as you said, like in uh, there's this question of like um, how much of that do you want to do nonstop as an artist because of the wear and tear mentally of like if you have to deal with subject matter that is uncomfortable or challenging, like I imagine that dealing with some of those even just the visuals um, probably can bring up a lot of memories or things of the sort.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those things where it's not necessarily always. It's not fun to deal with the subject matter. It's a lot to deal with on a daily basis, but the people who lived it certainly had it a whole lot worse. And what we can't do is let people bury um, what they went through, or let people decide that those things, like, we'll never hear about those things.
Yeah, I mean
So,
that's the big thing of the book ban of like so many voices that are being diminished because of someone
hmm
like say, well, kids shouldn't hear these things. And it's like there's nothing saying kids shouldn't hear this stuff. They need to know it. I mean, my son, and maybe
yeah,
your kids have already been through this too. That there's an age where like my son's studying like history and some pretty like dark thing,
hmm
and yet I'm glad that he's learning about it because we don't want to repeat. Even though
exactly,
even though
exactly.
there,
I think that, of course, I honestly feel like most people know exactly what they're doing. But I feel like if some people knew a little bit more about history, it would be harder for people to suck them in to doing this foolishness.
yes,
It's like, yeah, we went down this road. And even if you feel this way, it doesn't even work. It's super inefficient. Like, you know, why would you do this? But I don't know. I'm losing my train of thought, but
Have you had
sorry. And
with some of these books? Have you had any like um, pushback or the
yeah, Crown was banned. Um,
I forget
I
about
believe, I'm every good thing. Somebody attempted to ban it. They were upset. Someone said that they didn't like the young man on the cover looked too arrogant. That was hilarious to me. I'm like, he's a fictional character.
yeah.
Like I don't understand why he's triggering you in such a way.
Why
Um,
try to ban
and
your
even if he was real, he's a child. But okie dokie, I don't. It's sad and hilarious at the same time, if that
what?
makes sense.
Why did they try to ban Crown? What was the justification for that?
I don't know. That was that first. I think it was up in Pennsylvania, where the kids fought back and
Okay.
got the books reinstated. Yeah, and that book, it is a very positive book. This is the thing, and
Yeah.
I've said this a few times to people. When I was a kid, there weren't a ton of books with black protagonists, right? And I was an avid reader, especially when I was very young. And so I read the same books that a lot of my friends read, and they all had white protagonists. And I read those books, and I enjoyed the books, and I learned from those characters, and those characters didn't look anything like me. And but I still read the book, and I got the lessons. And this is the thing about the books that I do that might have African American protagonists, right? Your kid doesn't have to look like the kid on the cover in order to learn the lesson. It is a positive lesson that's in that book.
Yeah.
And it is a lesson that's good not just for black children but for all children,
Yes.
right? It might be black kids might be centered, but that doesn't mean that your kid can't read it and that will come away with a message that will be uplifting and um and pleasant to them, and useful in their lives, frankly.
Well, the other
And
the other
so, go
comes into
ahead.
play. I was gonna say the thing that comes into play is like if it's speaking, it doesn't matter who. Like when I deal with students who are trying to write stories or things of the sort, the first thing that I tell them is like you can tell your tale, you can tell your specific history and whatnot, and other people aren't going to understand or relate to it 100%. But if
Hmm.
you tell it in a way that is universal enough that people know that experience. So like if it's a story that's talking about loss, everybody's lost something. Maybe some
Hmm.
lost something that's more important to them than the next person, but we've all lost something. And like as long as you can speak that language that's universal or broad enough that everybody can sort of find themselves in it, then that's the goal. And so like it may be a very specific history lesson, or it may be a very specific thing that is
Look, I can't imagine any child not wanting to wake up and conquer the world, right? And
yeah,
a book like that, we've all had a haircut or bought a sweater or put on a certain jacket. It felt a little better, and so it's certainly not an exclusionary message.
now let me ask you a question about this because if I remember correctly, you are bald, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, did you grow up in the culture of barbershops and things of the
Oh
sort?
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. I wasn't born bald, right? So,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I would go to the barber shop with my dad. I would go to the barber shop with my dad, and first it was Mr. Dave's barber shop. It was Dave's barber shop, and I forget where he was in DC. And then closer to my high school, it was Sarazine's barber shop. So that was a barber shop owned by two women, and
Yeah.
they were both from Chicago, and they owned a barbershop. I believe it was in Southeast DC, and that's where we used to go to get my haircut. Yeah, I just real hair just wasn't in the cards for me, man. I was going bald early, but lucky for me, it was the '90s, and rappers were bald and models
Yep.
were bald, and I was able to shave my head at 19 and still be okay.
Yeah.
But
It, the reason why is like I've cut my hair at home for most of my life. Like I've
mhm,
always, I've bought a razor and I do it myself, and it's not complicated for the cut that I need. But there was a
yeah,
while there where I went to a barber shop, and it is such a unique culture and unique
mhm,
environment that you know it's different than going to like Great Clips, where
yeah,
you,
yeah,
the familial the people know each other, people will come in and just sit there and talk, and it's not even they're there to
yeah.
get, it's such a
Everybody, what I love about going to the barber shop, because like even now, like I'm bald, I can cut my hair at home, but
yeah.
my son goes to the barber shop, and yeah, I've been so busy. My wife's been taking it most of the time, to be honest with you. But when I do go, like we have like that like there's great conversation, and as a matter of fact, if you read Crown, that's Gabe's barber, Mr. Reggie. So his barbershop heads up barbershops on the Plaza in Charlotte, North Carolina, and so but yeah, it's I love that uh there's the so many different people mix in the barbershop,
Yep. Yep.
like socioeconomic, you're gonna get all these different points of view, you know it's a fun it's a fun place to be, and unless it's one of these newfangled barbershops where everybody takes an appointment, you're gonna be there. It's gonna take a while for
Yep.
them to get to you,
Yep.
and so
Well, that's
and
that
so
like Great Clips is, you go to one place, like when I was a kid I used to get brought to something like that, and your appointment was
uh
like minutes, and then when I was going to the barbershop here in town, it would take an hour and a half, and I couldn't believe the level of precision and like care that was given to every single hair on my head. Like every
yeah,
time. I'm like,
it's
no.
different. I shave my own head, but let me tell you, like sometimes if I have someplace to go, I will go get a haircut. It's better. You know what I mean? It's just better. It's just something that Mr. Reggie's a pro. I can cut my own hair. Barbershop better. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, but
So
a lot though nowadays. That's
say it
the
again.
it does cost a lot up here, at least at the place that
Yeah, it's.
I
I
go
think
to.
that the prices are going up for sure. You know, um, I think the prices of everything are going up. This is
Yeah.
it's that downward pressure on society at this point where everybody, the electricity goes up, the rent goes up.
It,
I know that there are certain barbershops that are more like high-end salons, and there are other barbershops that are very family oriented. And if the prices are going up, it's because they have to go up.
yeah.
There's not a whole bunch of choice.
What I can't fathom is I was talking to the barber that I have there, and when I stopped when the pandemic hit. It was just like I
Hmm.
can't go out there or whatever. But the he said that he had a guy that would come in every week, and I'm like, for these prices, that's a ton of money being spent on hair.
Mm.
Like when it's short and it's has to be styled a certain way, sometimes you need to do that, but I just can't believe how much money was being spent. Now, does my hair look perfect now that I have to do it? No. But I agree with you, the like the environment. Did you go out and spend time with like going into barbershops for doing the reference and like talking to people, or was that, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
so
barbershop.
we took the reference in the barbershop. It was actually in Reggie's older location. So that was an even better location for what we were doing because an even more old school barbershop with the black and white checkered floor and and the old school chairs and so like his new shop is probably nicer in air quotes. But as far as what we needed for the book, we wanted that old school neighborhood barbershop feeling. And um and uh the vibe in the barbershop is that same neighborhood loving vibe, but uh everybody gets successful and moves up, so the look is a little different.
Did you go back and bring the book there to show them?
Oh, of course. Yeah, yeah. So he's got like Reggie's got the cover up in the barber shop,
Like the
yeah, yeah.
original, or
No, a print.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
No, that's cool. I that idea of like, who is it that did? It was Zachary O'Hara did one that was about a library, and he used a very specific library as his reference point, and went in and
Hmm.
took photos from it, and like that idea that it's tied to a specific place is so cool. And I imagine that every little kid that comes in there that's read the book is probably like, oh, this is the place. This is the
I think that, it
barbershop.
does happen that kids know or they've read the book and they come into the barbershop like they're new or something, and they come into the barbershop and they recognize Reggie, which is really cool.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, yeah.
they know right away that this is like special of some sort. Um, Now, uh, with the idea of that book. Oh, I got to make sure I keep an eye on questions here. But the idea of that book, in particular, like Jesse Owens, that book, uh, the Go Tell It. Those are like historical things, and they're
Hmm.
time frame. But then you have something like the Crown book, and that one's got sort of a maybe a little bit of a looser time element in it, that but there is a style thing that's in there. um did you get any sort of like pushback or challenge on sort of like, oh, we need to make sure we represent different hairstyles in the actual
Well,
book?
that's definitely the goal, right? Like, so if you read the manuscript of Crown, right, there are a lot of different hairstyles in the book, and I
Yeah,
try to I try to mention those hairstyles, and also the book centers on one boy, right?
yeah.
And that the model for that child is one of Derek's sons, Silas.
Okay.
And but if you look in the you look in the background of the barber shop, that kind of thing, you're gonna see other people that look different ways. And so like when you're painting, when you're doing a book, and it's not just this book, but when you're doing a book, it's not just like, it's not just about that one character, right? It's about their neighborhood. It is about it's about their neighborhood. It's about all these other things that you're really trying to get across. Like, so it's the environment a lot of times is just as important as that's funny. I'm not in frame. The environment is just as important as the characters, right? Because
Yeah,
you're telling the story about where this person is from, and that's the great thing about that barbershop, is that barbershop occurs in a lot of different cities. You're gonna see that shop, and you're gonna like it's going on a day, but it's a I don't know how to say it. It's a modern story. So when I do a book, right, I will try, like, if it's in history, I will try to do things to ground it in history. But if it is not grounded in history, I will try to make it look contemporary, but not really tied to any one specific time, because I want the book to live on as
yeah.
long as it can live on.
And
So,
That's why I was wondering
You
about the hairstyles in particular. Is like there was a book that I worked on where I put something or in the sketch, and they go like, "That's too now," and
ah,
old in a long time, and that was the question is sort of built around that idea of did you get pushback because someone's going like, well, too,
I've never gotten pushback for that. In the I'm Every Good Thing, there's a scene where a young man is rapping and he's like in a concert and everybody's holding up their cell phones like for the light,
yeah,
like lighters, like we used to do with lighters back in the day at concerts, right?
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I look at that page, it's one of my favorite illustrations of the book, like top three. And I really wonder like how it's going to age. So far, the big rectangle with a screen that is the cell phone has not changed, right? It has been a lot of years, right?
Yep.
But I'm thinking at some point that's gonna go by the wayside, and that book, hopefully not, but that book is gonna be dated. And sometimes I think about like, well, you want to put those things in the book, and then other things. Some people say stay away from the tech in the book, and yeah, I guess it's a decision that has to be made.
But at the same time, like there's so many books that are out there that we read as kids, and are tied to an era, and yet
Hmm.
they still hold true to the kids now. Like, you go look at something like Goodnight Moon. That is not a modern book. You go look at the
No,
characters; they're not
no.
eating porridge at this point.
Oh my goodness.
I think it's a bowl of porridge or it's a bowl of something like that. Um,
That's true. We don't
yeah,
we don't eat too much porridge these days.
yeah. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm not a big porridge consumer. Um, but it's
Yeah.
that stuff is in that book, but that book still sells on a regular basis, and so it's not like it's out of place 100% in that. So
You
it's
know,
like at least
um, go ahead.
understanding historical uh, reference point for a book at a
Yeah.
certain like there's
So
books that I
look,
have in my collection that are definitely old.
yeah. Do you ever the other day my wife and I were talking. We were just talking about things that were like a big deal when we were kids, and she brought up quicksand, right?
Yep,
And
class.
I don't know if you remember, we'd always be watching TV and somebody would always be caught in quicksand, right?
Hmm.
And,
Yep.
and
There's
she was like, "What happened to quicksand? Kids aren't afraid of quicksand anymore." And I was like, you're right. Like quicksand was like when we were little, man. That was a big deal.
That was a threat. Yes.
Yes,
It was in every cartoon show. It was in every like movie. It was.
yes,
I mean,
yes,
I don't know if this movie, if you ever watch Mad Max Beyond the Thunderdome,
yeah, yeah.
or like there's a scene in that where a kid gets sucked underneath the sand, and like that horrified me as a little kid. But in reality, I I have never come across it, and now like it's
No, no.
out
I
of.
remember we would play like there was quicksand. Like we would be like, in my neighborhood we had this little section of woods. We used to call it the trails, honestly. It's very small, but when you're kids, the world is big, right? And
Yep.
so we would just be like, "Oh my God, don't go over there, it's quicksand," like that is there we go. Ooh, no, don't do that. All right, so
Yep.
yeah, yeah, like that's just funny. It's just like there's a thing, right? Like and I was thinking like I wonder what it's gonna be like what are those ubiquitous like cultural things gonna be for my kids? Because it's not quicksand for them, right? It's gonna be something different.
Well,
And
about the save icon, right? Where like people have
uh-uh.
asked, little kids have asked, like, what is that save icon? I don't get it.
Yes, yes, yes.
The same argument of like, yeah, if you didn't grow up with floppy disks, then that means nothing to you. Which is
Yeah, yeah.
so we I do want to keep an eye on the time. We only have about 9 minutes left before it's going to cut us off, I believe.
Okay. I
And so,
think that'll work because my earbuds are gonna die in a hot minute,
oh no,
and
oh,
yeah,
all right, that's fine.
yeah. So
We'll wrap here in just a second. If you get to a point, I think I'm basically at a point where I can stop here. But if you get to a point here, just let me know, and I'll Oh,
Yeah, yeah, we could keep talking. We could keep answering questions. I don't necessarily need the earbuds, but I just feel like it might be a good signal.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
It's I mean, the generationally, there's a lot of things. I'm trying to think. There was something that I was talking to some students the other day, and it was we were talking about thumb drives,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and I had to explain that. Or I had students one time, and I think the problem is I use a brand name like Kleenex or whatever, but I said
Mm-hmm.
Xerox that, and they looked at
Oh,
you know wide eyes like, what are you even talking about? And I was like, Xerox, where you go down and you Xerox the thing, and they had no clue that what I meant was a copy, because
that's hilarious.
they're not used to it. They just don't experience it in the same way.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, thumb drives. Or I made some joke to a student the other day about a jazz drive, and they have no. That's one that like is lost to time. I
I
don't know
don't
if you.
remember the jazz drives. I remember being in college, zip drives that,
Yeah,
all of the graphic people had their stuff on zip drives. And I
I,
remember that people were stealing them like at school. Like it was a big deal. Like you had to watch your zip drive because people were like literally, if you left your zip drive in the computer lab, it was going to be gone because they were so
yeah.
expensive. You know?
No, zip drives, jazz drives. I think were just the bigger version of a zip.
Okay.
Correctly. It was
Okay.
not. It was not a fancy thing. Like zip drives were when I sent off my first postcard for illustration. I still remember that I had to put it on a zip drive and send that mail. And
Hmm.
for all I know, it probably had like 100 megabytes total on the thing. I don't even know. I'd have to look up how much storage was on a zip drive. It was probably sad, whatever it is now, when you look at it.
Hmm.
Those are things that like kids just will never know because it was an in between thing between like a floppy disk and a CD. Uh,
Hmm.
my wife the other day asked if we had something to burn a CD on, and
Oh wow.
oh yeah, I don't. We did. I don't know if we do, and we did find a
Yeah.
drive, but I was like, I don't know where you're gonna find a writable disc. Like
Yeah,
we
that's so tough.
to see something, but the uh, the writing
Yeah.
side is hard to
You
write.
know, being a family guy, we have a minivan, right? And I remember when we bought it, like it had the DVD player and Astrid, our daughter, was like, queen of the middle school. Like we had the nicest van at a certain point. And and that let and and that lasted for like 2 years, until they realized, wait a second, vans aren't cool, right?
Yeah.
Like, like,
Honestly, minivans like nowadays, minivans aren't that bad of an idea. Like I understand
man, I,
it's a if you can fold those seats down to like carry lumber or do those kind of things, minivans are not bad.
look,
But there's the
I will probably always own one just because they get good gas mileage. I can get ginormous paintings in it.
yep, yep.
Yeah,
No,
yep.
the gas mileage, it's your priorities change. You're less about trying to cruise up and down the road. And
Hmm.
like nowadays, I'm the first thing I think of is just can I get a comfortable car? Like my my wife at this point, and even I am starting to think like, okay, getting in and out of a car. Like
Ha.
there's a certain level of like my knees can only take so much. Um, so it looks like time wise that we should probably wrap up here. I'm gonna switch my camera back to,
Okay.
and we'll try to send you off in style for the
Uh,
night.
all right. Well, this is what we came up with.
That's
There's the painting.
that thing is
Thank you.
beautiful.
And there's the reference.
Oh,
And yeah. And
are you
now look.
or is this just for you?
This is hopefully it'll go with couple of the other paintings that I've done. So I have some big nudes that it might go with, and I also have that painting that's down there. And so, Lord willing,
I
And I just need the practice too.
yeah.
So,
My wife just said absolutely gorgeous on there. I
oh, well, thank
look
you.
at my and I'm like, I used to do some goofy beavers and things of the sort, and then I look at yours. I'm like, that thing's gorgeous. So it is. It's.
There's
I.
nothing wrong with beavers.
Do you know who
So,
Bob is?
who's that?
Do you know who Bob Shea is? The illustrator.
No, I'm sorry, I don't.
He's a well known sort of kidlit guy, but he does very sort of
Hmm.
crazy stuff. And he said that at one point he was sitting at a table with it's not Kwame Alexander. Who did the march? Kadir Nelson. There we go. And
Ah, yeah, yeah.
you know, sitting at a table with Kadir Nelson, it's hard to sit there and go like, I've accomplished something when you're sitting next to someone who paints like that. So
Yeah.
this is my version of that for the night. Um,
Oh, well, I appreciate you saying that.
Again, we are huge fans in this house, and I was so excited when you agreed to be on. I can't thank you enough. And, I I am so glad that I got to watch you. Essentially, I thought you were going to come on and just sketch, because I was like, oh, it's going to take forever for him to paint something. But man, you really cranked that thing out so fast. So, uh,
Oh, thank you.
and
Thank you,
it
thank you.
would be a mess. It would be a brown mess because I don't know how to pull together. Um, But I appreciate the time, the effort, the chat. I'm really glad I get to know you. And if you end
All
up
right,
posting, do me a favor and hashtag me so I can see, or
we'll do.
tag me in it, and I will do the same once I get this guy digitally touched up.
All
But
right,
this has been lovely, and I will be in touch, and hopefully we'll see each other at Icon.
that'll work. All right, thank you for having me.
All
Appreciate
right.
it. All
Have
right,
a
bye bye.
all right, bye. All right, folks. I think it's just me. I think so. Real quick, next week we have on uh, Lauren, Nicholas Slater. Yes, Nicholas Slater. Thank you. I was trying to do the math in my head of what? Oh yes, who did the Leaf Thief, and a bunch of other books. But Nicholas Slater will be on next week, and then I am taking a week off because Thursday is, I believe, ye old Christmas. And then January we'll be back with a bunch of Christopher Thornock. Oh yes, excited to have Christopher on. And Game and Doodle. We have another Game and Doodle. Anyways, it's about to cut me off. So you all, I got a purple triangle on my neck from the light. Ooh, right there. Anyways, you all have a lovely evening. I will be back next week with another scoop of the Gavin Doodle. All right. Bye, everybody.